Very good morning. It's dry, it's grey. My name's Bruce Jones. Joy Osborne alongside me. We've got 2 hours of free practice ahead of us. This is the 4th of the 5 rounds of the 2025 GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Series, powered by AWS. And as the high shots show, we can see the castle in the background over Nürburgring village, but the good news is, Joe, often here you get rain coming through. You sensed a few drops as you were making your way into the circuit this morning, but for now it appears to have blown away over the Eiffel Forest. Humidity, though, as you commented, quite high, 88%.
Yeah, surprisingly muggy, isn't it, considering it is relatively chilly in the air. Track at 14, air only at 12, and that's what the teams are looking at. That view into the distance, foreboding, isn't it? The weather breaks in this part of the world quickly, and the teams will be too wary of it as we get a good look at the circuit here. 17 corners, 5.1 kilometres in length, lots of overtaking opportunities and lots of action spots as well. And we saw plenty of that last year.
Absolutely, it always gives this circuit, but you're quite right. This and Spa-Francorchamps alone, you need to bring a meteorologist. You need to have an eye on what is coming in over the distance. And of course, we've had sprint races here in the past, but this weekend, it's a 3-hour race tomorrow afternoon. Today, we've got 2 hours in the morning, this session, which is the free practice. Then we have the pre-qualifying session. It runs for an hour this afternoon. That is at 2:30, and then we get qualifying tomorrow morning, those 3 quick-fire 15-minute sessions. But at the moment, the team with the bragging rights at the top of the charts is this team, the Man Filter team, with their Mercedes and its wonderful livery. But it's sitting clear in the championship by 1 entire point, 54 points for Gazeau, Matteo Cairoli and Maro Engel and their Mercedes. Second place, just 1 point behind on 53 points. Hugo de Vilde, Kevin van der Linde, Charles Weerts in their WRT BMW. And 1 point behind them, another manufacturer. It's Porsche in third place. Sven Muller, Patrick Niederhauser, Alessio Picariello for their Rutronic Racing Porsche crew there. So really, really tight. One little slip up and it's going to cost. And of course, Joe, as you go towards the end of a championship, every single point seems to count that bit more, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the drivers will be too aware of that as well. And it's been so tight this year, and all 3 of them have had a real ebb and flow. Some weekends being very strong, and then some weekends being absolutely nowhere. And you can maybe say the same about that 98 Rover BMW as well, as being right at the front, and then some weekends can't make the top 10. But that's the competitive nature of GT World Challenge. 61 cars on the grid this weekend. So if something's not right, be it driver, be it team, be it setup of the car, you suddenly can't get inside the top 10, maybe not top 20.
Yeah, fumble in qualifying, and suddenly with these extra cars, 6 extra cars over last year, was it 7? Let's do some maths. Anyhow, 61 cars, you could be way, way down the grid. Now, one thing is an awful lot of these drivers know the Nürburgring very well indeed. A lot of them do long distance races, build up towards the Nürburgring 24 hours. Of course, this year we had that the weekend before the Spa 24 hours, and some of the drivers had also been slightly busy at Le Mans for their 24 hours the weekend before. So we really have absolutely the top drivers in the world coming to play here. But this is a circuit they know, but it's also a circuit that just seems perpetually to change its nature. Not quite lap from lap, but day to day, hour to hour here, with the weather blowing in, blowing out, and often you get quite a big temperature range, Joe. We all know trying to get your heat into your Pirellis to the optimum level is something the drivers, the very best, know how to do, but it's always something that keeps them on their toes.
Yeah, all drivers complain of it being low grip round here. It's equal because it is in the surface, but it does change how the car feels. And I remember racing here in the past, you can have a great balance of car anywhere in the world, and suddenly come to the Nürburgring, and the surface just offers 5–10% less. It's marginal, but it makes a huge difference. So we see a lot of the cars struggling for rear grip. But at the moment, this Rover BMW, the lap we've been watching, has looked perfectly balanced in the hands of Rafael Marcello. Tucks it in nicely to the last corner at 17. Track limits will be prevalent. One of them there in the exit of 17 will be a hot spot. Goes across the line and goes 3rd position with a 1 minute 56.4.
Yeah, nice little banker lap there. Doesn't have to bank it. He doesn't need the experience, but it's just about what is the track. Where is the track right now? What's it like temperature-wise? But some of these top crews, they can't quite do it with their eyes closed, but they've got to do it with that feeling for everything they're getting up through the steering wheel, the seat of their pants. But that Rover BMW, you're quite right. If you look at it on paper, it should be, you know, absolutely at the sharp end of the championship, but it's not in the top 6, and that is a fumble. But then, as you say, it is so competitive in the GT World Challenge at the moment that one little slip up and you're way down the order. And sometimes you look down after even qualifying and go, how's that crew with that calibre of set of drivers down there? But again, it's not just the number of cars here; it's also just the sheer level of excellence each year. we increase the number of cars, but we also increase the driving talent.
Yeah, massively, and Marcello there going through sector 1 just as he hits the brakes for turn 8, and it's an improvement, nearly 2/10 off the ultimate. That's what the timing graphic is showing us there as teams look on, and it's an early morning for a lot of these drivers, so best way to wake up is some GT3 action and coffee in equal measures. But we're talking about traffic. Marcello's done a good job here, of course aided by the team, but this is the second lap we've been watching, and he looks like he's going to get a second clean lap, potentially going to catch that Verbist motorsport car, maybe the Santalok run Qatari Audi as well, and that's what the drivers are looking at too, just trying to find their space, and that is so important for qualifying.
No, it really is. Augusto Farfus looking on there, and they might be thinking, where has our season gone? They started with a 6th place in the Paul Ricard 6 hours. They didn't get a result, didn't get a finish at Monza, and then 5th place in the Spa 24 hours. Again, it's just emphasising how you've got to have all your ducks in a row. So for this crew, it's just about getting a feel for the track. They've got another hour, which is pre-qualifying this afternoon, but who knows what the weather's going to bring, because they're going out on the track tomorrow morning, early. The session starts at 9 o'clock, 9 till 10. So they've got to pack a lot into that hour, and they don't know what the track's going to be like.
No, but it's going to be as similar as it is now. That's the importance of that. Marcello's previous lap had a full colour of sectors. It was a green 1, it was a purple 2, which has now been stolen by a car of Jens Klingmann. So another BMW yet to register a lap time, but look out for that 777 Almana car. As you look at Arjumani, he'd lifted himself as high as 4th, just been dropped to 5th position in the Ford Mustang, run by HRT Performances. We get an action shot there of the Valkenhurst Aston Martin. I think that could have been David Pittard behind the wheel, having a huge snap of oversteer on the exit of T6, and that's just the nature of the corner there at 6. It's well cambered. It's where we're watching now, and you can see the gravel that was brought on, and you get that high side feeling, almost like a motorbike, where it all grips up as once. You're having a slide, so you end up turning left. Purple sector 1 for Mani, so we're obviously on a very fresh set of tyres, if not new tyres. So we'll follow this lap to the end. And where can you go? 5th at the moment. We haven't seen the strongest performances from the Ford, but this is the home track for HRT, so this could be a weekend to keep an eye on the Mustangs.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and best result for that crew, Thomas Drouet, Arjumani and Jan Mardenborough 11th in the opening round, 2 non-finishes, but you know, people sort of willing the Ford on. It's great to have another manufacturer in the mix. It makes the most fantastic sound, and you're quite right, Hubert Haut's team, based just across the road with a bunch of other teams and other manufacturers, and you know, when this circuit was built in the 1920s, it was to provide employment in an area, a region that had you know, very, very low employment rates, a very rural region. Oh dear, the McLaren going off in front and not interrupting Arjun, couldn't run quite as wide, but now the sheer amount of employment in this area in the motorsport industry is quite astonishing. So finally, almost a century on, they've got their wish.
Yeah, exactly. Mani up to 3rd. That McLaren did get in the way ever so slightly. You're right, got out of the way, but the 112 car there in the way. Lucas Auer now on board the 48 championship leading car that we touched on earlier, Bruce. 28th at the moment, but hasn't set a time, so it'll be interesting to see where they will be. You just look at the Mercedes brand at the moment, no cars inside the top 10. Schiller is the quickest car in 11th, but look at the plethora of manufacturers out the 10 to choose from. They are all very well represented inside the top 20.
Yeah, just going down the order, Porsche from BMW, from Ford, from Aston Martin, from Ferrari. Oh, a repeat. Marcello 6th in the 2nd of the BMWs. David Pittard, whether it was him or not who went off the track, is still good for 7th place overall, but he really is something of a Nürburgring expert, so you do expect a quick time.
Yeah, obviously a VLN winner, and completely different circuits. When you do the full Nordschleife to the GP, there's very little carryover. Setups of the cars completely different, and even the driving style, but they at least feel at home on this GP part of the circuit. Lots of runoff, obviously, compared to the Nordschleife element of it, so you're able to push a bit harder as a driver, and we saw Pittard doing that earlier, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. Push, push, push to the end. You know, he gained a nickname around here. He was known as the Pit Bull because he was fantastic at the start of a race, but that was in the long distance races. Here, the field much, much more competitive. But I just got to say that number again, 61 cars coming out to play, 10 manufacturers. And of course, we have balanced performance, but that is shown that it works. But with the 5 different manufacturers in the top 5 positions. Still early days, though. Will a Mercedes get into the mix? You'd have to say, if it does, it's likely to be Lucas Auer, because he's really putting a chug in here. Luggy pressing deep into the corners. He's got a bit of traffic up ahead, so maybe that McLaren, was that the one that went off? I think it was just a lap or so ago in front of Arjun Maini's Ford. Didn't interrupt him too much, did a little bit, but Maini's time still good for 3rd position overall. Who's going to get down is the 1:54s. We're getting closer. 10th place, not a bad lap from Loake there.
Yeah, it was a used set of tyres as well getting put on the car, so this looks like it's probably more of a race run than a quali sim for the 48-man Phil to Windward car, and closing in on that McLaren. That's just a great illustration. The 112 McLaren there of McLaren is in 55th at the moment, the fastest lap of that car, 2.6 seconds off, whereas Lucas, hours fast, is only 5/10, so he's catching 2 seconds a lap on average. As we look at the teammates Cairoli and Engel there, Cairoli lidded up, ready to go, so the engineers asked him to be ready at short notice, so let's keep an eye for the 48 car pitting. As we see another Mercedes, the 611 Liberati in that Nordic racing car.
Yeah, that was one of the several cars that got a new face in the lineup. Not if you want to bring in an expert in the Nürburgring, why not bring in Adam Christodoulou in a Mercedes? You know, this is sort of has been his bread and butter for a very long time. So he's joined Yuichi Nakayama and Liberati in the 611 Nordic Mercedes, and at the moment it's Liberati at the wheel, 20th position overall, so in the top 3rd, but just.
Yeah, and they're going to box as well, and a great addition there, Christodoulou as well, a Mercedes factory driver no less.
Well, I'll tell you what, just mentioned Adam Christodoulou, and Alex Loake has moved like a greyhound. She's got him.
Well, a very good morning, sir. It's nice to have you in the paddock. How are you? Welcome back to GT World.
Thank you. No, it's great. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been in this championship. I did one race last year at the very start, and so I basically got the thumbs up on Tuesday, and I had to book a flight and be here on Wednesday, Thursday morning. And
talk about last minute. Here we are then, free practice, Nürburgring. You raced here, where are we now? August, so not that long ago.
Well, yes, I was here for the 24 hours Nürburgring, and yeah, first time back since. The test 2 days ago on Thursday afternoon went well. We ended up, I think, 12th, which it's my first time with the team, so it's just like getting settled in, and thankfully it's a car that I know very well and a circuit I know very well, so we're really happy with how it went. We just worked on a few things yesterday, and hopefully we can try and get into the top 10 today.
So, free practice, talk to me about the importance from a driver perspective and the setup perspective. What is it that you guys need to find out?
It's just all about fine-tuning, and for this championship there's so many cars out there. It's so important to make sure you get a clear track, which can be difficult. Like we've got the engineers obviously down the radio talking to us, right, there's a gap behind you, you've got a 2-3 second gap, so you can slow up in the last sector, try and get yourself a quick lap. But with how these Pirellis are, you need to do like maybe 1 or 2 laps to get them at optimum temperature for them to work in a very small window. And so I haven't been on the Pirelli for like a year and a half. I'm used to like the Nürburgring, we're on a different tyre brand, and so it's a little bit of a different technique, but yeah, it seemed to go pretty well. And yeah, we're just trying to get everything sorted for qualifying. So much is going to be about the qualifying, and it'll make life easier in the race.
Good. Well, nice to have you back, and we look forward to seeing how you get on this weekend.
Cheers.
Thank you very much to Alex Loake and Adam Christodoulou. So yeah, as measured as ever, but at the moment that car in the hands of his teammate Eduardo Liberati down in 21st position, and anyone would go near the track, we've got an Audi that's been let loose. Jules Magnus, was he caught up in someone else's mistake, but he's eventually got back into the right part of the country. That's coming out of the sort of 14, 15, 16 combination, the uphill chicane. Maybe he was avoiding someone else, but no damage done. But that really was a rural, an agricultural visit, one would have to say.
Yeah, luckily no harm done. Potentially needs to go into the box just to clear up the grass out of the grille, radiator and brake ducts there optimised, so no real room to have any rubbish in the grille there. As we see Maximilian Gotts 18th at the moment in the 9 car. This is a team that's been getting stronger and stronger all season. It's almost as soon as they put the retro Mark VDS livery that we were used to seeing on the Z4 back in the day, suddenly they've picked up a pace, and Manicourt, they definitely seemed at the sharp end of the grid.
Yeah, definitely finding their form. Opening race of the season, Maxi Götz's car came within the top 30, finished in 28. That's not a place you expect to find him, Michael Grenier and Maxime Martin. So the team with this illustrious background, and of course VDS was Boutsen is Thierry Boutsen's family. VDS is the Van den Straten family who ran cars in the 60s and 70s at the top level of motor racing. Great to have them, and of course those Z4s, now that we're having a sort of historic GT3 series popping up for next year. SRO involved with Peter Otto. Certainly a lot of people are seeking them out, and the fans love them because those Z4s did just make the best sound.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to race a Z4 for 3 seasons. Actually raced here when it was before GT World Challenge, but same format. And yeah, what a great car, and it sounds great as he boxes. And you can see the importance of practicing that in, because you want to attack that final chicane at 14 and 15, but then you have to be to the right before that bollard. If you touch the bollard, that will be a penalty. As we now look at a Lamborghini, the V10 screaming along nicely. 22nd place at the moment for Luca Enxler aboard this Liquid Moly car. Looks like he's just backing out of it, and he's setting up this last corner just to get a bit of space, but also maximise his exit speed. And the jeopardy here on the exit, I said about track limits, but if you do it on the lap you're on, you also lose your next lap in qualifying. And we're going to ride on board of Luca Enxler here. So 6th gear, we've got a big brake, 120 metres or so. We're hard on the brakes all the way down to 1st gear here. You can see on the dash, number 1, that's the gear number, biggest number, the most important, up to 2nd. And then we're going to roll into this long left-hander at 2. Careful of track limits on the exit as well. It's a short straight, and then we brake and we get it over the curb on the inside. And actually Luca Enxler struggling to get the front in early enough, gets it there eventually. Back down to 1st gear, short shift to 2nd gear now. Another short straight. Will we need 5th gear in this Lamborghini? Some cars differ here. We're going to roll in 4th, down a gear, over the bump. And it's important to hold it to the left here to open up the second part of this chicane. A bit tight there. Looks like we're struggling for front end grip at the moment. Lots of curb on the exit there. No track limits, so it's legal. This is the end of sector 1 here, so we'll get our first indication. Braking just after the start of the curve. Back down 2nd gear here. Roll the speed actually all the way down to 1st. The Lamborghini seems to have to go to a gear lower, and you can see how early he's shifting up. When you go for a lower gear, you're trying to rotate the car, you're trying to get the engine to help get some turning out. Fastest part of the circuit corner-wise here. Lots of 2nd, 3rd gear corners, but 4th gear there through 10 and 11. Another big brake, roll the car in. Gives you a great illustration of how many of these corners are paired up. It's a left into a right. You mess one up, you mess the second part up. Now we've got this fast-flowing bit, easy flat through this right-hand kink at 13, accelerating all the way through. Very, very uphill here, so you're able to brake very late, well past the 100-metre board through this very fast chicane. 4th gear, you've got to fling it to the left, fling it to the right. Lots of curb on exit and into the last corner. Pit wall starts here, so it really takes off your image of the exit, and that's why it's so easy to run wide there. It's a good lap from Enxler, not the best. You can see he's actually a 10th and a half up, so he does improve to 16th. But at the moment, this looks like a race run to me. Just the dull nature of the front end of that Lamborghini. Yeah, that moved him up, but he's still to 16th, but he's still just under a second off the ultimate pace. That's still in the hands of a Porsche. It's a car with Joel Sturm at the moment. It's one of the Verbist Motorsport cars, but the time was set earlier by Tim Heinemann. Best time, 1 minute 55.249 seconds. A bit of sun appearing finally in the pit lane, or is it just the bright livery on the man filter Mercedes? Bit of light on that, but still air temperature exactly as it was about an hour ago, just over 12 degrees. Track temperature only just now crested 15, so we're not talking big swings as yet. This session, though, does go on for 2 hours. It should get warmer. Yeah, and some teams will be running through their more procedural stuff, maybe bedding their last set of brakes just to make sure they're okay for the rest of the weekend. And it is hard on brakes here, and you can see that riding on board with Enxler. How many of these are big stops? 6th down to 1st gear at turn 1 is a huge demand on the car. As we look at one of the Porsches here, the 22 car, Heidenguven in it at the moment. And this car ran very, very strongly at times last season as well, and was unlucky potentially not to even win the race outright. Yeah, I mean, Schumacher CLRT is a team that's really, really moved on.
over the last year in particular. A very strong driver lineup with Lauren Heinrich and Klaus Bachler, who knows more about Porsche 911s in racing trim than I think anybody else, or certainly one of the challengers. Now, a short while ago, we were looking at Arjun Maini going up into 3rd place. He's actually been superseded, moved down to 4th by the sister car. So both of the Ford Mustangs going well here. But Guven at the moment, just trying to find himself a bit of space, quite a bit of traffic up ahead of him. But again, you know, he knows whether he's trying to go for a quick lap or versus just working his way through the program. Down the hill he goes behind the Wright Motorsports car from the USA, which is great to have them back for a further meeting in the championship. Quite a few of the teams come and compete in the 24 Hours of Spa, but it's great when they latch on and do some more. So the green and yellow liveried Porsche up ahead is from Wright Motorsports.
Yeah, and again, Guven down in 36th. We know the quality of him, we know the quality of the car and the team. So again, just shows you the illustration of what these teams are running through as a run plan. And again, this is a lot more focused on a race run, because at the end of the weekend, that's the session that gives you the points. So qualifying is always a focus as a driver, because it's the purest session. It's the one where your ego gets massaged the hardest, but the race has to be the focus, and that's what the teams are looking at. And they're just making sure the balance is okay on full fuel, used tyres, and that the driver can do the lap time metronomically. You can have a fast car over 1 or 2 laps, but if it overworks the tyre, so then a stint is bad, it's not worth it. And again, you can see that aggressive nature, slowing down the last corner, trying to generate a grab to that Wright Motorsport Porsche we were talking about.
Yeah, we heard from Madam Christodoulou about exactly doing precisely that, and the race engineer letting you know what's up ahead, what's in behind, how much space. Tom Sargent pushing down, the young American racer in that number 120. Car going well for Wright Motorsports in mid-grid, really. 26th out of, yeah, I was saying that number again, 61 entries. Now, if people want to sort of follow what's happening around the world, it's I think it's quite right of me to say you can watch it on TV, but you can stay in touch with everything. We've got the GT World app. You can find that, all the information about all the GT World series, all the SRO series, entirely free. You can download it for iOS and Android. Keep the facts at your fingertips. So augment what you're watching and listening to with following the GT World app. Do make sure you get that on your phones if you haven't already. And Kelvin van der Linde leaning back, talking to Charles Witz. They have such a strong season, aren't they? They're leading the European series. They're second in the with Hugo de Wilde in the endurance series, and metronomic performance from Team WRT. But they'd like more wins, and maybe this weekend, but they have to put 60 other cars behind them.
Yep, and we're looking at Will Moore. They're having a bit of a moment in the last corner in the 42 BMW, and it looks like he's going to try and be dive bombed by the 63 car there. And it's a free practice, but it's looking like a race right now.
Right, well, I tell you what, we haven't seen too much of the Aston Martins yet, but let's go down and hear from Francois Verbist.
Good morning, Francois. How are you?
Really fine, really fine.
Good. Right, both your cars are in. What are you learning so far from this session?
To be fair, it's just a wake-up run. So we had the paid test, but you know, after a long summer break for the drivers, just to put back in the rhythm. But so far, so good. The track needs a bit to improve for the grip level. So no yet conclusion on anything.
It's been quite an up and down season for you, hasn't it? What are your thoughts coming into this weekend? How tough will the Green Hell be for you guys?
Yeah, after a disaster Spa for us, which also killed a bit the championship. Yeah, so for here it's just for us, we take it one by one now. So we want to shine a bit. It's really a single event, so it's only performance now. Try to be in the podium. So we have one car on every category. So for us, hopefully for 3 podiums.
Good. Fingers crossed. Yeah. Thank you.
Greedy, greedy, greedy. Okay, all for the classes, but obviously the number 7 car is going very well indeed. Marco Songsson's put that 5th fastest. David Pittard also got his Aston Martin very well placed in 8th place overall. Still the 92 Porsche leading the way. Kessel Racing, such a strong season for them in the bronze class. Conrad Larsen, 9th place at the moment overall. But he, with Dustin Blattner and Dennis Marshall leading, in fact they've got a huge, the 2nd largest lead of any of the classes. They have 81 points in the bronze class. Marvin Dietz, Gabriele Piana, Rinat Salikov, Winwood Racing Mercedes are 2nd on 60. So Joe, at this point in the season, if you've got a 21-point advantage, you could probably lift off a tiny little bit, you know, just have a little bit of comfort around you in terms of gathering points. But it doesn't matter what circuit they go to, an endurance round, a sprint round, but this 74 Kessel Racing Ferrari is magical in the bronze class, isn't it?
Yeah, and Dustin Blattner, you can see the name on the side of the car, has been class of the field in the bronze, but you can see the dust being kicked up. And here we have Lawson, who is no slouch in his own right as well, a huge amount of experience these days, and has been really good at his racecraft as well. So that's the other thing with all this. We talk about lap times so much, but when you're in the race, we've spoken about how it's important for the points, but if you've got the pace but you can't get past the car in front, it all becomes academic quite quickly, and that's something that Lawson, every time I watch him, he's able to get through the field efficiently.
You said when we were right at the start of the broadcast, the start of this free practice, 2 hours of practice, talking around the track, it is a place you can overtake. You do have options around the circuit, but where would you say, give me 2 key overtaking points around the circuit? Turn 1 is a clear one. Where's the other one?
Well, you've already stolen 50% of my answer, haven't you? But the next...
You can have a bonus one.
Okay, so the turn 1 is head and shoulders above the others in terms of an option. You then have 3 areas of very similar ability. Turn 7, 8 into the bottom of the hill is 1, into 11 as well, and then 14. They're kind of corners where you need a run. The brake zones are 100 meters or so they're not as big here, where it's more like 130 meters. We get that great drone shot that actually shows you the downhill nature of one as well. So that is the clear favorite for an overtake, but you have to get a good run through the last corner. It's not the easiest corner, 17, to run close to someone, because you are starting to get the dirty air through that last corner.
Yeah, again, wonderful drone shots that really pick it out, and it does help. You know, if you're watching a circuit anywhere in the world, you watch it on TV, you might think there's a bit of a climb here and there, but it's always so much more than you think. If you come and walk it, I mean, there really are some very steep parts of the Nürburgring. Not as much as when you get on the Nordschleife, but it's still an appreciable climb. Well, it's an appreciable drop down to turn 8, the hairpin at the bottom of the hill, but then the climb back up, and then once you've dipped out of turn 12 into the dip, and then start climbing towards the chicane, those are appreciable climbs.
Yeah, it's steep enough when you do a track walk. Your electric scooter can't do the uphill part. It doesn't have enough torque. And yeah, GT World Challenge Europe has already announced its 2026 calendar. So check it out. We go all over Europe. We see one of the AF cars running through the gravel. And again, talking about the race, that's going to be a flavour, because that gets dragged on as the Porsche has a huge snap of oversteer and brings even more. But the track will get dirtier and dirtier and slippier as we see the other Ford Mustang. We were following Marnie earlier, but this is the sister car, the 65 car, and at the moment 3rd place overall. Thank you to the lap time of Schumacher. And we talk about home tracks, well, it doesn't get much more homely when there's a corner named after your family, I would suggest.
Yeah, name rings a bell. But yeah, and also, you know, for Hout Racing Team, this is the one they really, really want to do well at, because, as I say, their facility is just around the corner. And again, good to have new sort of names and mates up at the front end. Good to have Ford back in the mix this year. But it's still Porsche from BMW at the moment. It's the number 92 Verbist Motorsport car, top of the chart by just 48 thousandths of a second in this free practice session. And Jens Kling's car, the number 777 Almanar WRT, entered BMW second fastest, and they in turn are just a whisker, 0.1 of a second ahead of Roman Andriolo's car. That's the white and blue car we're looking at now. The Mustang wasn't Roman who set the time, it was David Schumacher. But again, quick nature of this session. We've got 2 hours of free practice. The teams are rotating through their drivers and just giving everyone a bit of a shot early on. If you're in the bronze class, they had a session yesterday afternoon as well for the drivers to really just get a feel for the place. It was a bit warmer then. It's still hovering at, we've got to 13 degrees air temperature, and track temperature has risen another degree. We're up to 16.
So warm, isn't it, as we look at Mikkel Pedersen in the dynamic GT car. So the blue number background there illustrating it's in the silver category, so all 3 drivers are silver graded, and we'll touch more on the categories. There are 4 categories. Come to you, boss. Mr. Vivish alluded there was 3, but there are 4 classes, of which the silver class is very well represented these days.
Yeah, indeed. Everyone's well represented. When you've got 61 cars, you know something's going right somewhere, and certainly the higher the drone flies, the more cars we can see as it pans out over the circuit.
Yeah, I'm talking about silver drivers. The sister category to GT3 World Challenge is the GT2 series, which has been growing in strength, and next season actually launches an academy for these silver graded drivers. So silver graded drivers that are under 30 years old competing in the GT2 GT2 World Challenge next season, the winner will get a paid drive in the GT3 World Challenge. So what a great way to use that as a springboard from a GT2 car to a GT3. If you're a young, aspiring pro driver, that is the category you will be looking at to compete in 2026.
Yeah, come learn the circuits, win the prize, step up to GT World Challenge the following. So certainly looking for who's why did he get that chain wrong? It's when they run wide at the exit where we're just seeing the cars now. Sorry, that's out of the final corner. What causes you to go off at turn 16?
When we went on board with the Lamborghini, you can see how quick it is, and it's like threading a needle. There is one line through there as we see the Paradigm BMW. This is a British battle, isn't it? Paradigm versus RJN here, and again, this is a proper race, and this is good info for the race where you can overtake.
Well, let's go and hear about Lamborghini and from Luca Engstler.
Good morning, Luca. Right, you just handed over to Jordan. You had a little discussion before he got in the car. What information are you feeding him?
Yeah, that's going to be a tough weekend. So we've been on new tires now, did a good run by feeling, and I think we are more than 8/10 off. So going to be a tough one this weekend, I think.
Why?
Well, I think if I say what I think, I'm in trouble. So I better don't say it. Yeah, we maximize our package, or try and maximize, do no mistakes. So we see we are still in an underdog position in the championship, but it seems like that it's going to be a tough one.
Talk us through from everyone's perspective, really. What are the things that we need to look out for around this circuit this weekend?
Well, I mean, obviously Nürburgring is always a special one in terms of weather. There's always a high chance of rain, and I think that's the only thing that can save our weekend, a bit of damp condition and a bit of a casino. So Nürburgring is known for that, and we hope that no one is eating the full plate tonight, and we have rain tomorrow. Thank you.
Thanks, Luca.
Well, there's Luca Engstler with the look of a driver who worked hard. It's also, even though the air temperature is still so low, the humidity's actually gone up to 94%, and he looked as though he'd done an entire race there, and he's a very fit young guy. So yeah, the humidity is definitely an issue. Looking out from our commentary box, a little bit brighter to the east, not so much to the west, and who knows what's behind us. You can never see. You do have to look through 360 degrees to try and find the weather at the Nürburgring, pretty much most of the time.
Yeah, and the problem with rising humidity is it normally means rain is near. As we go on board with one of those Paradigm BMWs, actually the sister car to the one we were watching before we went to the Engstler interview, and so much information. We go on about it all the time, I know, when we get on board, but you can see an ABS adjustment there on the wheel for Sean Galeo, and so he's gone up to 11, so quite high on the ABS intervention. So now when he hits the brakes, the ABS will be kicking in earlier. So I'd suggest he was struggling with the locking of the tyres under braking and wants some more stability aboard the 991 car. So now when he hits the brakes, the ABS lights flashing there. You can see on the right side, more active on the right because we're turning right. So that side of the car is lighter, less load. You can see that big blue dot in the middle of our screen, the race logic box there. That's his live delta. So at the moment we're 1.13 seconds off the fastest lap this car has done. So the car at the moment, I would suggest, is more of a race balance. Let's listen into what they're talking about.
Yeah, pressure is getting a bit high. General balance is quite good, but this feels like it's starting to move a bit more towards the end.
I think we can fix that by having the preload a bit higher, but I'm just keen to see what the tyre pressures will do. Because if we can raise at this preload, I would like to.
Yeah, I think for the race, this preload is a bit too low. I think for quality is quite good.
Copy.
Sorry, a great illustration. So talking about tyre pressures, that's on the top left of the dash. So 177 on the front, 170 on the rear. So they've gone for a split there. They've got a higher front pressure. And then they're talking about preload. So that's the differential there. And they're saying at the moment is too low. They want a higher preload. What does a higher preload do in the diff? It changes how the throttle and off-throttle experience of the car is. So at the moment, they want a higher preload. They want a more stable rear. They don't want the differential to be working so hard left and right on the split difference. So the engineer there saying, I hear what you're saying, I want to get the pressures in the window, which is important, then we will revisit the setup of the car.
You almost need to have a freeze frame of some of those onboard shots so you could go right, and we could talk around every little bit of illustration. Still makes me laugh though, on the steering wheel, a tiny little circuit diagram there. That's not so the driver can see where they're going, it's so they can report where they've parked the car if they're not coming back. Is that correct?
Exactly that as well. And now with the full course yellows and knowing which corner the car is stranded at, for example, it's important that the driver gets told T12 issue, and you're pretty sure where T12 is, but there's a relevance there to make sure you're in the right place.
Another one of the Aston Martins, Kobe Powell's and Jamie Day. They've been having really quite a great season across the year. Again, a lot of really young crews. You know, we've got the whole sort of age range, but the big story in GT racing in the past half a dozen years has been young drivers coming in very, very early in their careers. And, you know, it's not unusual to have teenagers in this anymore. You know, it used to be an absolute oddity because cars with roofs tended to be raced by drivers who are older, but it's very much a career path series now, GT3.
Yeah, Massey and Kobe Powell, Jamie Day, you said, and Nicholas Barr in this car are able to put themselves against factory drivers in the sister car. The 7 car has drivers of Drudy, Nicky T, Marco Sorensen. So if you want to become a professional driver, you've got to pitch yourself against the best, and you're able to do that not within a brand, but within your same team. It's a great way to show Aston Martin, for example, the skill set you possess and why you should be paid to drive around in circles.
And you can do it on a global basis because, of course, GT World Challenge, we've got the Asian Series, we've got the Australian Series, we've got the American Series, all going along. A big weekend in Okayama this weekend for the Asian Series. It's got the Japan Cup as well, the separate race for all Japanese crews. So keeping an eye on that through the course of the night. First race will be coming our way shortly, but a great little circuit. Remember, it hosted a couple of Grand Prix back when it was known as the TI circuit. People had to try and find it on the map, but I tell you what, it's a great little track to go to. Lovely, lovely part of Japan. But I tell you, if we're thinking it's slightly humid here, ramp it up another 20 degrees and you're probably getting to where they are at the moment.
Yeah, exactly that. Although I wouldn't mind it. It's a bit chilly as we look at the RJN car, 13th at the moment, highest place McLaren. So unlucky for some, but they'll be happy with that at the moment. Tommy Foster aboard the car he shares with Reece Barr and stalwart of RJN, Alex Buncombe as well. Celebrated a birthday. I won't say which number last week, but Alex Buncombe getting older, but still very, very quick. And this has been a strong showing thus far for the RJN car. You can see some of the sponsorship there. The Lockton Insurance Group, they had an event at Salon Prelay this week at Blenheim Palace.
Well, they parked on your lawn, did they, Joe?
Yeah, I let them. And my Blenheim Palace stat that you'll obviously know is the birthplace of Winston Churchill.
Indeed so, indeed so. So it's still a Porsche at the top. Those times set very, very early on indeed. The car actually in the pits at the moment. Joel Stern's been driving it, but the time was set by Tim Heinemann for Verbist Motorsports, and a driver with a lot of experience here. Now what we're seeing here, the car right behind Tommy Foster's McLaren there is the one of the Rutronic racing cars. It's the car that's third in the championship at the moment. And that is looking to put a good time together. But with the driver lineup of Sven Muller, Patrick Niederhauser and Alessio Picariello, you know it's going to be there or thereabouts. Patrick is the driver on board, the Swiss racer, 15th overall. In fact, he's one of the few drivers at the moment who's actually picking up the pace. He's got ahead of Tommy Foster there so he can have the bit of track he wants. But we've seen a lot of drivers coming out of chicane and backing it off. This time he doesn't particularly, because it's about what's sitting up ahead. Tommy Foster isn't going to try and monster him, you can be sure of that. Tommy Foster's probably just going to try and follow him, but he's got one of the VSR Lamborghinis up ahead. And will that hamper? Is there an improvement from Niederhauser? No, 2 laps very, very close in time, but at the moment I think he's set his time and he's just going to see what he can be finding out.
Yeah, I think that lap could have improved. He didn't have to overtake the RGN car. Interestingly, 15th and 13th respectively, so the 15th place quicker, but isn't able to get the lap yet.
Well, let's go down here from the pits. We're with car 59 and with Joseph Loake.
Good morning, Joseph. So you've just handed the car over to Benji. What did you learn out there?
Well, a lot. This is a new track for me, so learning as we go. Thursday was good, really good in terms of just getting up to speed. I think today, just playing around with a few things here and there in terms of, you know, entry speed, stuff like that. All the standard driver stuff. But yeah, we're getting there. I think the car's in an okay window. We made a change going into today. I think it's better, so hopefully it carries on into the weekend.
So this is a fresh track for you. Like, it's not been that long, has it, that you've made that step up to GT3? I guess the whole thing's quite challenging. How tricky is it to step into a grid of 61 cars in the GT World level?
Yeah, it's been tough. It's gone a lot better than I thought it would. Not that I expected it to go bad at all, but I thought it'd take me a bit of time to get up to speed and, you know, understand the car. But I was from almost lap 1 really comfortable, and the team are amazing. Not only Gazeau, McLaren as well. The amount that they're putting behind me to just try and help me improve myself is, yeah, I'm forever grateful for that. And we're, you know, I think we're in a pretty good spot. You know, at the end of the day, Marvin's one of the best guys in the world right now, and to have him as my teammate is a privilege. So I can learn so much from him, and also Benji as well. You know, Benji's been around for a few years now, and he knows what he's doing. So I've got a strong team around me, and I can learn a lot.
You're certainly in good hands. And I mean, pedaling the McLaren around the Nürburgring, what's that like? It's
very low grip. I expected it to be a bit more grippy, but no, it's really cool. It's a very historic track, and one that was always on a bucket list, so I'm having a lot of fun driving around, and hopefully we can do it a bit quicker than everyone else.
Well, I'd quite like to put driving McLaren around the Nürburgring on my bucket list, but that's something that's never going to happen, sadly.
Yeah, I thought so too at one point, I can promise you that.
Right, well, look forward to seeing your progress over the weekend. Have a great one.
Thanks very much, Alex. We were just talking about young drivers coming in and learning from, gaining experience from other people within their team. And Joseph Loake, single-seater racer till this year, just turned 20, so he is taking every opportunity to pick up the pace. But yeah, the historic circuit. I suppose this circuit, the modern iteration, opened 20 years before he was born, but obviously the original, which is in the background behind the trees, where you go onto the Nordschleife, has been around for the best part of a century. But learning very well indeed. And at the moment, their car sort of middle order at the moment.
Yeah, and they've brought themselves back into contention championship-wise this year on the overall championship with the performance of Benji Gazeau, who, for me, has come up a huge level this year. In my opinion, he was a very fast silver driver, but this year he has stepped up to be a fast gold-rated driver, and that is a huge step to make forward, and that's why that car's winning races in sprint as well now, with Kirchhoffer, who we know world-class, one of the best, if not the best GT3 driver on the planet right now. But Benji Gazeau is matching him step for step, and let's remember last time out, Manicourt, the sprint round, he held off Luca Engstler. The pressure was insanely high, and at the moment this 59 McLaren from Garage 59 are doing a mega job, and Garage 59 have upped their game as well this season. They had an awful start at Rickard. There's no two ways you can try and phrase that. And they're a busy team as well. They run cars. They were at Silverstone this week as well, running for one of their clients an F1 car, a P1 GTR, a Senna GTR. So these operations, these teams now are huge entities employing 40, 50 members of staff, and that's why we're seeing, in my opinion, the best age of GT racing we've ever seen.
Oh, just 100%. But I think that's a very good point. We get used to seeing what we see out on the track, but it's the other enterprises and the fact there'll be a commercial director there constantly trying to put more money in the pot to expand, and they've gone out to 3 cars in the World Challenge this year, and looking very, very comfortable with it. So right now, Benji Gazeau, there he is down in middle order. He's 33rd out of the 61 cars. This record entry here this weekend for the 4th of the 5 rounds, endurance rounds of 2025. But at the moment, his lap times are 1 minute. Well, he's on an out lap, so let's not really talk about that one. So he's building up towards some pace, but then he has a lot of debris out on the track, always at the chicane. But we did see it was one of the Porsches, I think it was, wasn't it? Went in, and the following car then compounded the problem. And at that point, as you're turning into a chicane, you see someone getting a little bit sideways in front of you and putting gravel. You don't have too many options in terms of where you place your car, so really quite slippery down there. Oh, by the way, quite a lot of cars have been getting track warning limits. That comes as no surprise. Turns 1, 2, and 17, which is the final corner, tend to be the favourite places for those. But you build up your warnings, and then eventually you start getting penalties coming your way. Yeah,
we see a driver change there. Niederhauser getting out of the car. Sven Muller getting in. He was out last weekend in a Porsche in British GT, and had a rather robust move at the end of the race, shall we say, that actually caused that car not to finish he was in. So we've said about how aggressive Sven Muller has been, and that's definitely a true story. Then another car, the 92 Porsche. We haven't seen too much of that this season.
Yeah, but here we are on their home ground, and for the Renauer brothers who own and run that team, they'll be delighted. They're sitting at the top of the time chart. It's 48 thousandths of a second clear. That time set very early on by Tim Heinemann, then put Joel Sturm in the car. Joel, the driver at the wheel of the now, just recently come back out from the pits. A flurry of cars have just emerged back out on the track. Here we're rotating through. We've done 45 minutes. We've got 2 hours in all for this free practice session on the morning here, Saturday morning at the Nürburgring. But it's learning and going through the process. But certainly Verbist Motorsport really know this circuit, every inch of it.
Yeah, and that's important. And just you can see the car bouncing over there. The damping of these modern GT3 cars, so impressive to take those hits. And really, as a driver, you don't feel it in the car. It just goes through the suspension and it doesn't come through the seat, so you're able to place the car where you want. But the pace has dropped off, and this is what we're going to see. The new tyre here walked in this morning with a couple of the drivers and kind of probing for some info. And it looks like the new tyre is going to be worth 1.5 to 1.6 seconds. And I think we're going to see teams try and hold as many new tyres back as they can for the race. So in stint 2 and 3 especially, they can leave the pits on a new set of tyres and get 4 to 5 laps over a second quicker, because that gets you to the end of the race quicker, maybe 11 seconds if you can keep 2 sets behind.
Well, let's go down to the pits, because Alex Legui has moved incredibly fast, and we just saw Patrick Niederhauser get out. Now we've caught him.
A very good morning to you, sir. So, what sort of car did you just hand over? What did you learn through that session?
A couple of things. The track has changed quite a bit since the Thursday practice. We obviously expected this. Temperatures are much cooler. So yeah, we did some minor tweaks, minor adjustments, but overall the car is in a very good window for us. So yeah, let's see to maximize everything now.
Yeah. This is quite a high-pressure weekend, isn't it, for you guys? You're in serious contention. How important is qualifying for Nürburgring?
As it's only a 3-hour race, it's actually pretty important. I think we saw it last year during the race. I mean, yeah, the first couple, like the first 5 positions, nearly didn't change. They were always in the battle, and as it's basically a 3-hour sprint race, yeah, we need to try to start up as high as possible.
Amazing. As you go into the second half of free practice, do you start mimicking quali runs?
I actually did right now my quali run so far on the new tires, which wasn't too bad, but yeah, obviously we're not quite up there, so we still need to find a bit of performance. But yeah, you see the whole field. I think on Thursday there were 45 cars in 1 second, so it's super tight. It's really all about the details. I think in qualifying we're going to have a good shot, as we are 3 pro drivers to stand more or less up there, but obviously we try to make pole position like last year. Looks like it's going to be a bit more difficult this year though.
Yeah, no margin for error. Thank you, Patrick.
So Patrick Niederhauser, there's his car, and unfortunately there is car number 88, one of the Tracer Attempter Racing Audis, off into the tyre wall, and that's Ricardo Casaniga.
Down at turn 6 there, it's a pretty rare place to see a car go off, so I imagine you had a snap oversteer where the Mercedes just had a snap of oversteer. He has got going, so hopefully we don't have to have a pause in this session. He's on the access road, so a more compact type of gravel than the gravel trap. Yellow flag out in sector 1, but it's actually quite a long way to rejoin. He's going to rejoin almost halfway down the hill here, in between turns 6 and 8.
Yeah, no telltale spin marks on the circuit, but yeah, if you overload it into turn 5, you're just starting to drop away slightly. It drops away far more through turn 6, but you can see just in front of the tyre wall there is the harder. Now let's read the incident.
Yeah, so it was a very early slide, and he's having to correct the slide, but unfortunately the trajectory of the car then takes him into the barrier, and it's the ever so slightest of contacts, and I think he'll get away with that. Maybe a bit of front left bodywork damage will be the most likely issue there, and we should go back to green anytime soon, as the fastest car on track is using its headlights rather aggressively on the back of the Sky Tempesta car, which has had a driver change already this weekend.
Yeah, a medical issue has kept Chris Froggatt out of the car, and Lorenzo Petresi, who raced the team in the Spa 24 hours, so that's actually an advantage of the Spa 24, where you sometimes put a 4th driver in. You've got a driver who knows your car, knows the team. So Lorenzo, ever keen, has well, he's about to be elbowed out of the way. But yeah, okay, so bunching up behind. But just to finish the point, Lorenzo Petresi, son of Ricardo, who's had some excellent runs in the last couple of years, is the 3rd driver this weekend in the number 93 Ferrari from Ziggo Sport Tempesta. Eddie Cheever, Marco Pulcini, will be the ones on board. Chris Froggatt, the one who'll be frustrated and watching from the sidelines.
Yeah, and Arjen Guven in this Porsche, frustrated, finally gets past Joel Sturm, bails out of it, and don't think the Ziggo Sport car had actually seen Guven there. His reaction at the apex felt like that was quite last minute. The purple light flashing on the back of that Ferrari, indicating it's a bronze driver in the car, and Guven would have been aware of that, but was still in a hurry to get past the 93 car there, as we look at another car right at the sharp end of the field.
Yeah, this is the Almanar Racing run, Khan 777, and it's Al-Faisal Al-Zubair at the wheel at the moment, and it was Jens Klingmann who set the time very, very early on indeed. He literally went out, set it, I guess, on his first flyer. And Al-Zubair getting the lion's share of the running. Ben Tuck yet to get on board that car, but it's a car that's been going well all season. A little bit of a snappy moment for them there, but it's often... A lot of drivers get a little bit distracted in traffic, don't they? They're probably listening to the engineer, and you know, sometimes not always 100% on it. We all know it when we're in our road cars. Sometimes you get a little bit distracted, but this car clearly got fantastic balance through the course of this season. And Jens Klingmann did the job early on. His best time, 48 thousandths off the fastest time in this session. Still no drivers down into 1 minute 54. But what we second category, the lowest is 1 minute 55.2. But what we have been seeing is very high humidity. It's running at 94%. Air temperature is bobbling around 13 degrees. So it's not warm at all, but it's humid. And let's find out what it feels like down in the pits, because we're going to go down and hear from Matteo Cairoli, who's incredibly well placed in the championship. He's actually leading it. He's driving the Winwood Racing number 48 Mercedes. He's with Alex.
Good morning, Matteo. You've been out, you've had your first stint. This is a seriously important weekend for you boys.
Yeah, let's say the fight will be extremely hard, as well as in Barcelona. Currently we are leading, so in the best position possible for this part of the season. Talking about this morning, it hasn't been very smooth for me, as I had some trouble while driving, so pressures were not 100% fine, so I struggle a bit while driving, but you know, we are fully on it, try to catch back the others, because at the moment we are lacking like half a second, so which is quite a lot here in GT World Challenge. But you know, you never know what's going to happen here, as there are 61 cars, so it's going to be a tremendous race. But we are ready to fight at our best.
How confident are you for a pole here?
Well, I expect that our main competitors will be closer than what it is now. So for sure, Nürburgring, I expect that we will struggle a bit more than Barcelona, especially because of the cold temperature. Our car is suffering a bit more, looks like. But you know, nevertheless, we are trying to cover the issue with our driving. So we will give our best and try to win this championship.
Well, it was Maro's birthday, wasn't it, the other day? You know, so it would be a very nice birthday present.
Well, we discussed, me and him, a couple of days ago. We would like to repeat what I did in Monza. So it was my birthday, we won the race.
That's right.
So it would be cool to try to repeat the same year.
Okay, this is the time to do it. Best of luck, Matteo.
Well, while that was going on, we discovered the Winwood Racing Mercedes has windscreen wipers that are working, seeing them working away there. And it's Maro Engel, the third driver in the rotation. Intermittent. It's always the thing, do you put them on or do you leave them off? But clearly just enough for Maro to think it's worth wiping that screen.
Yeah, unless it's more of an issue, because I can't see any other cars with them on. And sometimes you can knock it by mistake, but I'm a bit worried they're just stuck on, as we see the top speed there powered by AWS. And that is into turn number one. The Ford, the fastest. No, it is more rain coming. Engel just the fastest to react on the wiper button, it seems. But the Ford and BMW is very strong in a straight line, and we talk about balanced performance, and you will see ebbs and flows. The cars that are fast in a straight line compromised in the corners, and that's how we make 10 manufacturers do the same lap times, by allowing them different strengths in different areas.
Yeah, and the high shot there, looking over the final corner, turn 17. In the background, you could see clouds issuing rain, so at certain points in the circuit they'll be finding it. But right now, Thierry Vermeulen pounding around in the Verstappen.com. Aston Martin, they've had a really, really strong season. He and Harry King and Chris Lullum leading the gold class by 25 points. They've got 91. Next up is the CSA Racing number 111 McLaren on 66. So that is a comfortable points lead, but a good result here will just about put it in the bag for them.
Yep, they can wrap it up this weekend, but this car's focus, all three drivers have told us all year, they focus on overall results. The gold class is what they're part of because of what their driver gradings allow them to be in, but their focus has been the overall. And I love that mentality. You look to the top, even if you can compete in a class which allows different driver gradings, they're still shooting for the top. And 2C's running this Aston Martin. It's a new car to them this season. They've got on top of it very well. And they've also got another car here this weekend, their more familiar Mercedes. So another car adding to that 61 car entry list. But it definitely seems to be raining on this back part of the circuit, doesn't it? Turns 8 into 14 seems to be where the rain is starting to fall.
Well, 2 class wins out of their 3 endurance rounds so far, both of those with 9th place overall. So any Gold Crew getting up into the top 10 is great. So they've clearly shown their marker. And car looks magnificent, I must say, in the Red Bull livery.
Yeah, and just looking at the sector times now, there's only 1 car improving out the whole field, so the track is definitely getting slower. Of course, that could be the tyres going off for one instance, but maybe we're just starting to see the rain hit the surface enough where the drivers aren't able to extract the exact lap time they want to get from it. The Balance of the 33 car looking good, decides to box, so again, a good practice coming in, and you have to push all the way, so the pit entry isn't for another 100 metres or so where you get down to 50k.
Well, I tell you what, when the weather changes, you always need to speak to Team WRT. We've got the boss. We've got Vincent Vos.
Good morning, Vincent. What a season this is turning out to be for you guys, and a very important weekend.
Yeah, well, obviously it's very tight. Happy to arrive here fighting for the championship. Well, it's not the last race, but it's so tight that every point is counting. So let's try to see what we are capable to do here.
What do you think you're capable of doing here?
Well, it's a bit too soon to see and to have a clear picture what we are capable here. But yeah, it's a good track. It's a track that we like. And last year we were not so successful here, but there is a lot of work which has been achieved since last year. And yeah, well, we are looking forward to it.
Good. All right, best of luck.
Thank you very much. Still a long way to go for all of these teams. I was just looking to check on the timesheets where exactly Charles Weerts was. Bear in mind his number 32 Team WRT. BMW is second in the Endurance Championship. It's down, not in the top 10, not in the top 20, not in the top 30, down in 48th position at the moment. I don't hear any alarm bells ringing, but you know, just the very nature of the beast. You never want to be away from that far from the top in any session, because that puts them down 1.7 seconds off the pace.
Yeah, they've just been in the pits for 12 minutes previous to this run, so that would indicate to me they've done a setup change there, and you can see Weerts still trying to get some tyre temp in there, using a huge amount of curve, bouncing the car up. There's a great shot of how dirty the track is. We keep talking about it, but this is only 12 minutes past 10 in the morning. Yes, the track gets swept during the day, but it's never as clean as the day goes on. So Weerts has done a good job here, finding some space though. He's actually got a huge gap to the Lamborghini in front in this shot. So we've got a chance here for some good clean laps to try and get this car somewhere higher than 48th position.
Actually, just to give you a guide, the GT World Challenge cars weren't the first on the circuit this morning. So packed is the agenda for this weekend. We had Lamborghini Super Trofeo qualifying starting at 8:15 in the morning. So while the sun, I was going to say, was rising, it wasn't, because it hasn't really come through the clouds yet. You know, cars were out here super early. So many cars in all the championships across this meeting. But I'm going to say the figure again: 61 entries in the GT World Challenge Endurance. It's just extraordinary.
There's a great camera angle there. We're looking through the passenger window right now. We can see him working at the wheel. The track is so loose at the moment. So we're seeing the AWS stat here, exactly where the Porsche is. This is the speed on the exit of turn number 6. So you can see Pedersen ahead of Niederhauser, 2 Porsches. This dynamic Porsche in shot, the fastest, 132 kilometers an hour, then some BMWs, and then the Mercedes of Lucas Auer. So it's as they exit here, as they get the curb. And why is that important? Well, this run down the hill is an overtaking spot. So if you can carry the speed, which Pedersen's done well there, and you can see why guy's done it well because he's used every single millimetre of the circuit up to the gravel trap. So a really good illustration and important data for the team there from AWS.
Also, nothing encapsulated in that shot as he's followed through by the Come-To-You Racing Aston Martin, and one of them was the fact all 4 wheels were outside the white line at the edge of the circuit, so that would be a lap that could be taken away from him. Yes, this is free practice, it's not qualifying, but again, the officials will be looking at all those corners. Turns 1, 2 and 17 have been the ones that have been picking up the most track warning limits, but certainly turn 6 I feel will have its role to play. That said, looking down the warnings at the moment, it's 1, 2 and occasionally turn 4 as well. Turn 4, that really, really low speed corner at the start of the lap. I think you were saying at the start that you drop down sometimes to first gear for that.
Yeah, you can do, depending on how the balance of the car is, as we see some racing going on. The sun is finally out and it's shining down on the 188 Garage 59 car. We were talking Joseph Loake, the sister car in the 59. Fleming aboard at the moment, and Thomas Fleming has been very quick in this car that's new to him this season, and he's still got Oliviera alongside him, but joined this weekend by the world's fastest gamer, James Baldwin, and great to see him back in the car, and he posted some great onboard video on his socials as well. So if you want a better insight to what it's like on the cars, check out his Instagram.
We've passed the halfway point in this session, 2 hours to get the day rolling here at the Nürburgring. And delighted to see the sunshine just about 5 minutes ago. We were talking about the windscreen wipers just starting to come on. It was only ever a flurry. Sky is fairly uniformly sort of pale grey, but we have had sunshine. That is definitely a step in the right direction. Humidity still at 94%. Track temperature still sitting at around 16. It's not a hot one, but the teams across the course of the year, across the course of the championship, have to get used to all different temperatures.
Yeah, and Fleming there rather underhandedly backing out of it, and Al there really caught up and on the flashes, and yeah, if that was in football terms, that would be a yellow card. It wasn't super dirty, but that's not the right sort of conduct to be doing there. To open up your lap is fine, but it shouldn't be at the detriment to someone else.
No, indeed, it's not just the driver to blame there. Obviously, a race engineer would have been involved in trying to gauge what was approaching. They'd be looking at the track circuit map. Admittedly, with 61 cars on it, it's quite hard to always pick one dot from another as they move around the circuit. Right, we're on board now with the number 51A, of course, the Ferrari. It's a car that just hasn't had the season it wanted as yet. But Alessandro Pierguidi, there's not much he hasn't won in GT3.
No, really not. Look at the graphic here. So the first thing I take from this 296, and I have driven it, but it's so long in the gear, not using 6th gear, so expect the gears all the way back down to first, and this is hard for the drivers then when you're not using 6th gear. Suddenly you've lost 20% of your gears available to you, so suddenly the corners are a lot more in between gears as we're chasing down the Century BMW in front. This is where we saw the Audi have the huge snap of oversteer, and again, look how much he's having to work the wheel, micro adjustments, because it is low grip. He's trying to be on the limit. This was where we were seeing the speed graphic there on the exit 6. This is where we dive downhill. You get a great shot of how well banked this hairpin is down the hill at 8. Down to 2nd gear, low in the rev range. You'll be trying to pick the torque up of this V6 twin-turbo 296 GT3 car. Now, how much curb do we use on the inside? We don't use much of it, but we use all of it on the right. You can hear the gravel, then the snap of oversteer. Just starting to show our nose to the BMW in front, just showing our intent that we would quite like to come past. Huge snap of oversteer there. This is more like Tokyo Drift than a GT3 car at the moment, and this is what the drivers are complaining of. But what I'm excited, low grip means great racing, because the drivers are having to have this gun to their forehead to try and extract the lap time. Slow car getting out of the way really well there. I think that was one of the Paradine BMWs. Here's the chicane. This is the eye of the needle threading, and you can see we missed the first apex, so we went in deep. This is where we backed out of it. That's what we saw Fleming do, but hold another car up, and he's just trying to find himself some space. He's trying to attack a lap now, but I'm really getting an illustration of how low grip it is out here at the moment.
On top of which, that onboard lap with Alessandro Pierguidi, as he got into chicane, I was looking for one thing. How much of a line is there that's not covered in gravel? It's absolutely like a beach up there at the moment, and so certainly if you've not got much grip coming in, this is the cars exiting the chicane and the Ford going in, and oh dear, Aston Martin, it looks like it was going on the Nordschleife there for a second. It was going to snap right. That's Antoine Potti, but he's done the good thing, which is missing the tyre wall. But that's just when you want your car to go one way, and it certainly snapped the other, didn't it?
Yeah, we've seen that from the Aston already, haven't we, with Pittard, and we saw it with Chavez at Spa 24 and Superpole as well. The car is loose, that's fine. Some drivers do like that sort of rotation feeling, but it then snaps the other way. It looks really difficult, and a car that has snapped the other way, the 12 Ferrari there, that is on the exit of turn 11, and hopefully we can get that car refired and it will be on its way for the Rinaldi Racing squad.
Yeah, sitting facing traffic, no one really wants to be doing that, and so yeah, that had been going very well. That's with one of the debutants in the series who set the time in that. That's Rafael Duran, and we've got 3 drivers new to the championship this weekend, and he is one of those. And car 12, he's sharing with Fabrizio Crestani and David Perel. Crestani in for this weekend, but a series debut for Duran and the car. Facing the wrong way. Yeah, lost it very early. The shot we had there, it was already backwards as he got to the apex. So we're actually at that corner now, and the drivers are using a bit more of the entry curve, and that 12 car still not refired. And race director Nils Vetic will probably give him another 20 seconds or so before we probably need to go to a full course yellow to help recover that car. As I've said that, the car's got going and the yellow flag is clear. Okay, so Rafael knows Ferraris. He's been competing with his father Alberto in the Ferrari Challenge, but this is another level. It's up, and I dare say the switchgear might just be marginally different. That thing when your car's stalled, and you know, suddenly if it's not sort of muscle memory, not full nature, you maybe just have to pause for a second, regain your thoughts. But good news is the young racer has got that going again. They compete under the flags of Spain and the USA, sort of cosmopolitan family, the Durans, but good to have them on board. Yeah, another racing family, the Acker family here, and Alex Acker there, improving one of only 2 cars on that last lap to improve their lap time, so gets that car up to 29th position. And Alex Acker has definitely had a season on the top end of his career so far. He's been doing really, really well. The pace has been getting stronger and stronger as we look at the Rover BMW Farfus in the car. They put the skates underneath, so that allows the mechanics now to just rotate the car on the spot. Only 4 mechanics can touch the car. You can see 5 people. The 5th one is the data engineer, technically not touching the car, so they should be okay with a penalty there. Just breathing in the data. Now the other driver who'd improved was Jules Gounon. I haven't mentioned him in this session. Up into the top 10, 9th place there for Jules in the Get Speed Mercedes, the one that's red and white. You see that going well through the course of the season. But again, we just had a little flurry of sunshine after a little flurry of rain. Now it's gone back to being grey, but Jules has knitted it. Now a lot of conversation going on there with Farfus. I love how drivers always have to talk with their hands. It is hard to hear in a busy pit lane, earplugs in, helmet on, but the hand always talks louder than the mouth. So the boy from Brazil handing over to the fast fin there of Jesse Krohn. And yeah, Jesse obviously with his Scandinavian flair, probably one of the drivers happier with a loose car on a low grip Nürburgring GP circuit. National birthright, you can be sure of that. So, right, the sun is trying its best to get out. We've rotated pretty much through all of the drivers in all of the crews. We've got a few new faces if you can. We just saw Rafael Duran and the Gazeau Racing Lamborghini moving slowly. Can we see it? Mirko Bortolotti on board. I think he's just making space, isn't he, Joe? Yeah, it's odd to do it over the start line, though, because you've compromised 2 laps, unless he just can't find any space, and you might as well just get out of it. And it looks like that is the case, because he's now back up to speed, but there's no gaps out there whatsoever. 61 cars. So each car takes up 3.5–4 meters in length. That's 250 meters of the circuit gone if they're nose to tail. If you equally divide the rest of the space remaining, each car has less than 80 meters of track. 40 meters in front, 40 meters behind. That's the space. I'm not sure, actually, this car is happy unless he is going for an aggressive look. And the engineer will be telling him the only space you've got is currently at T1, which is 18 seconds behind you. That's a lot of time to lose. And it just seems to be going slow, back to normal speed in the corner. It's interesting strategy here from the 63. That's quite simply the race engineer has looked at a couple of cars not too far behind him. They're going at full pace. The treble 8 entry, the UNX Racing Porsche is the one behind him, but he had a gaggle. He let about 7 cars through. He might be absolutely fine, but will we see him slow down again? This is the car we heard from Luca Engstrom when he got out of the car. He's not too sure about the car's pace this weekend and looking a bit long in the face, but Gazeau Racing Team, so much success over the years, particularly at the Nürburgring, actually. And last time we were here, just 12 months ago, who were the winners? Gazeau Racing Team, Lamborghini, Mapelli, Pepper and Rivera.
See another moment there for Pacini, and that is going to be really common. Then it's hard to rejoin as well. He's done well there. Stayed to left to make sure it wasn't an unsafe join, but a good catch, but going to be a common theme.
Well, we just saw Augusto Farfus get out of the Rover Racing BMW, and we're going to hear his thoughts right now.
Good morning, Augusto. You have had more track experience than many of the drivers on this grid. When it comes to free practice, what is on your personal checklist of things, or of what you need to get out of it?
Well, I think first we try to make sure that all the systems of the car are working. So traction control, ABS, even the radio, because this could kill a race. So we try to get first all the basics right. And then we try to have a read, so the communication between the driver and the engineer to understand what tire you're using, because here we have a limited amount of new sets. So the engineer puts you on the car and says, okay, maybe you have 30 kilos of fuel and you have 50-kilometer tire or whatever. And then you try to understand, okay, where I am with this balance. Would this be good enough if I put new tires? Would this be good enough if we have to extend and do a long run? So the communication between the driver and the engineer to understand, because the conditions are changing, you don't do many laps, to understand what package I have on the car, would that be suitable for quali or for the race? And then we try to adjust. In situations like this, free practice is very limited, the amount of time is very limited, so we don't get a lot of laps. So we try to just do the homework at home and try to come here on track and just do the minor adjustment. We look competitive, I think we look solid. Let's see this afternoon the pre-quali, and of course tomorrow in quali, what can we do? Looks like you handed over a pretty solid car, but how tricky is it to set a good quali run when it's so busy out there and the weather's changeable? Yeah, well, I think Nürburgring is already special by the weather, so here is always a surprise box. We have this time 61 cars on track, which gives a hard time for the drivers, but also for the engineers. We try to coordinate and to get out on a free spot, but of course there is another 61 cars trying to achieve the same. And even if sometimes you get a good outlap and it seems like you're in a good spot, and then eventually someone comes out on the pit on your fast lap. Unfortunately, not every driver here respect each other, so sometimes you get jeopardized on your fast lap by someone who comes from the pit, but this is part of the game. But it's difficult. Then on top, you have this weather, which might rain at any time. So it is a bit, of course, having a strong package, but a little bit of luck always helps. Really useful info. Thank you, Augusto.
Thank you very much. Now seeing the craziest livery of all out there. As the Get Speed Mercedes, Carol Bass, Anthony Bartone and Yannick Mettler running it down around the middle part, and it's Anthony on board at the moment, running in the silver class. Get Speed, of course, where we saw the sister car going very well in the hands of Jules Gounon, getting into the top 10. But at the moment, and we just heard from Augusto Farfus there again about traffic, and trying to make your space. And I've been keeping an eye out also to see what was up with Mirko Bortolotti. He did a 2-minute 17-second lap, so that was clearly the one he backed off several times, followed by a 2-minute 8-second lap. So, but he's not come into the pit, so maybe he's just striving as he works his way around to find a bit of clear space. Who knows? But I think maybe not.
Yeah, the only thing I could try and add to it, and it's a left field suggestion, is there's going to be a full course yellow, you suggest, in the race, so the tyres lose temperature. Then you go back to green. Is he trying to let the tyres come down in temperature and then push to see what the balance is like? If I was doing that, I'd come in the pits and sit there for 2 or 3 minutes. Would be a better way of doing it. I'm just trying to think what could have possibly been. Maybe it was as simple. He was just trying to find some space, and loving the livery on this number 3 Get Speed Mercedes, and it's in 33rd position at the moment, but almost like a Desert Storm camo livery on there. Then the skull and crossbones on the side, the logo of Bartone Racing. It's a striking car, to say the least.
Yeah, it has its intent. Certainly they'll be very popular with people when they come here. We've had literally no change at the top of the charts for about 40 minutes. It's still sitting with one of the 2 Herbert Motorsport Porsches at the top. The time set by, it's now Rolf Eichen on board, but Tim Heinemann set the time early on. Second place, the 777 BMW for Almanar Racing. Now getting to see a couple of others in 41st position overall. And the second of our timing screens is treble 2. Real change of crew this weekend, and we got Ben Barnicoat on board, back from his sort of injured himself early in the year, so he's come on. And last year's GT4 European champion Tom Leben has joined the crew as well, alongside Charles Dawson. So a little bit frustrated there behind that almost classic livery on the BMW in front of it. That's from car number 15, BMW Italia Ceccato Racing. Squeeze your eyes tight, you could almost be looking at one of their works cars from the 1980s and 70s. But right now, Ben Barnicoat doesn't care about that. He just wants it to get out of his way.
Exactly that. And yeah, Ben Barnicoat, Lexus factory drivers these days. We were teammates at McLaren at the start of McLaren Customer Racing when we launched the 720. So I know Ben very well, spent a night together on his 21st birthday. It was an absolute privilege. And yeah, unfortunately for him, he had that huge mountain biking accident at the start of the season, which you said ruled him out. And great to see him back in full health. And he's a good friend of the 2Cs family, so Lexus allowing him to race this Mercedes. And Isa Khalifa, the team owner of 2Cs, always likes to try and get Ben Barnicoat in the car because he is such a fast, young British driver.
Now around the middle order, 24th position overall, Andrei Mukasov. We saw one Tracer attempt to Audi having a little off early in the session. Not this one though. And it's all about getting space out on the circuit. Best time for this car, just a second or so, 1.1 seconds, pretty much behind the fastest pace. But we've heard from all the drivers when they've been caught for an interview, it's about getting all 3 drivers through this session. It's about getting all your systems checks done. It's a 2-hour session here on the Saturday morning. We've got the 1 hour of qualifying that kicks off this afternoon at around 2:30 if everything stays on time. And that will be another chance to just get experience. The track is gradually rising in temperatures up to 18 degrees now. Air temperature has stayed stubbornly. It's only moved 1 degree since I came into the commentary box. It's now 13.4 degrees, so it's not a warm day. It's still humid though, 94% humidity. So yeah, you got to guess. Even though little vestiges of blue sky up above us now, probably a bit more rain on the way at some point.
Yeah, and track temp has come up to 18, so that's gone up nearly 3.5 degrees now, as Mukovic is going to finish the lap aboard this Trezor Tempo 66 Audi outside the 2 minutes now, and nearly 5 seconds slower on that lap, and it was looking leery, and so it wasn't through a lack of commitment. Here we see the Corvette, yet to see it this session, so great to get eyes aboard this stellar motorsport car. We've got Hannafin aboard at the moment, and Lachlan Hannafin has had a busy year as well, now aboard one of the Mercedes in the World Endurance Championship as well, so great to have Hannafin in GT World Challenge as he thunders into turn number 1, 237, 239 kilometers an hour as he hits the brakes, and second gear for the Corvette. So we're seeing a difference in gears, aren't we? Everything else, Lamborghini, Ferrari, McLaren, BMW has been first gear. The Corvette, the first of our 10 manufacturers to not be first gear at turn number 1.
There we go, making history as it goes. Also this weekend we have a new driver on board. This Alec Udell has joined the Stella Motorsport crew, taking the seat that was occupied by Matisse Lisont before. And the American racer is no stranger to European circuits. He did go and win the GT4 European crown back in 2019. A flurry of American drivers came across. Great to have him back on board, but right now it's Loake and Hannafin with that wonderful view. Not just because it's a lovely view down to the hairpin at the bottom, he's going through the kink at turn 7. There's not much traffic in front of him. That's a rarity.
Yeah, the Stella Motorsport team have done a good job of finding him, and the next car in front is actually the Winwood Mercedes, the yellow car, so you can see it just rising up the hill there. But how great does this V8 sound? I had a good look around this car early in the season, and it is a proper race car. Corvette have built a weapon here, so I expect this, as teams get used to it more and more, running as a customer car, to be at the sharp end of the field more and more.
You just don't expect people to come in with a car that's fairly new to GT3 and get to the top. That is the level of competition. Talking of competition, is suddenly we're getting quicker times coming up into 5th place. The first one since Gounon got into the top 10 in 9th to make a mark, and it's Dan Harper, Northern Irish racer for Paradigm Competition. 991 is now almost precisely a third of a second down on the ultimate pace, but that is the first big gain for quite a while.
Yeah, and we saw a change in driver idea. I think it is still Hannafin in the car, that 52 Ferrari that's just boxed in front of McKeel's, got down the inside, and annoyingly now for the Corvette, that car's boxed anyway, but we get back into another lap as 41 minutes remaining. And again, we see the 32 car in the garage. I said earlier it had been in the garage for over 10 minutes while they're doing a setup change. This is a bit more of an interesting area for the team to be working on. Historically, the setup is done outside the car, where they seem to be working inside, almost around the driver's seat area. And my guess would be maybe something to do with the fueling system they're trying to get through, body panels coming off, but that isn't where WRT would want their car right now.
Well, basically, I did notice this was coming in quite slowly. I thought it backed off a distance before it got to pit in, but Charles Weerts had managed to make space in traffic, and he had managed to move up to 14th overall. Now let's take a look. Let's go around the circuit. Schumacher-esque. This is as you come up the hill. You've been out of the hairpin at turn 8, and a beautiful example of moving a car around the Rutronic Porsche. This is Sven Muller on board, working that corner. Who's fastest? Sister driver Patrick Niederhauser, 193. And bear in mind, they were also very good in the downhill exit of turn 6 when we saw the previous graphic at another point on the circuit.
Yeah, and he was quite a long way clear as well, wasn't he? 193 versus 190, so pretty much 120 miles an hour through that sequence of corners. And of course, these cars are on slicks, but you sometimes forget just how quick you're going through a corner and the car dancing around, and you're committed to that speed over 190 k's, and the next lap there might be a load more gravel on there and you've got to deal with it, and it's always too late. By the time you've seen it, the speed has already been committed, as we see the Valkenhurst BMW, the 34 car. This was the car I think we saw go through the gravel first out of anyone this morning, and had that snap of oversteer, but now looking a lot more compliant towards the end of this lap.
Yeah, certainly looking tidy. That's Christian Krones on board. Enrique Chavez and David Pittard, and they've got a fair amount of space around them, so it does suddenly come to you a bit. We've got about 15 cars in the pits, leaving a mere 45 or so out on the circuit, so it's still super busy. We're working our way through this 2-hour free practice session Saturday morning here at the Nürburgring. It's a grey day, trying to get little outbursts of sun, but we've had little flurries of rain. But right now the windscreen wipers are static as the cars work their way around the track, but still the best time, 1 minute 55.249 seconds. And a few quicker times starting to come in. Tom Fleming has just picked up a position or two, and who's in behind him? No, really, it's the odd car that's setting a quick time at the moment. I think the track's probably in as good condition as it has been at any point since the gravel was distributed across the chicane. Of course, that's not a helping hand, but it's been there for a long time now. But I think an awful lot of cars have said just going through their rotor, they're in the pits at the moment. And yeah, as long as those windscreen wipers stay static, as most of them are, as we can see at the moment, I think we should see some quicker times coming in towards the end. But I'm just going to say it again, it is free practice. The ultimate time isn't everything. It's the ultimate feel they're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the Valkenhurst team would probably want to address that panel gap between the front bumper and the leading edge of the bonnet. It seems to lift ever so slightly as the air hits it, and that could have had a bit of an off potential at some point in its life, that car. They just need to adjust the bonnet pin, so the bonnet just clips on, and the height of those pins. I just think that leading edge has got to be causing a relatively large amount of drag on this track and marginal gains, and we will talk about how many will be covered by a second in qualifying. I think it could be as many as 30 to 35 cars covered by a second. At the moment, we've got, 24 cars covered by a second, which is still impressive, but that will grow as the qualifying ramps up the importance.
It's funny, I can look at the car, look at the lovely colour scheme. You're looking at that bonnet gap, and it's upsetting you as a racer, but taking a look as it works around the circuit. Christian Krones is getting a fair bit of understeer there as he comes up the hill, but look at the adjustment there, and he's pretty tidy on the exit. But what we'll see is a whole sea of gravel. There it is on the right-hand side of the screen. You can look at the bonnet. I'm looking at the gravel. Christian Krones is looking ahead, seeing what he can do.
Yeah, it's almost like the bonnet was flexing, wasn't it? It was almost like it was too wide for the gap it was afforded. But yeah, back in the day, we used to just tape it down, but the regulation's now so tight, no tape can go over the bodywork. We back-to-backed it at McLaren once, where we taped all the seams with helicopter tape. We found 2.5 kilometres an hour down the back straight at Paul Ricard down the Mistral. All academic, because it's illegal, of course. But it was good information as we go on board with Dan Harper, 991 parodying car. That was the best lap that car's just done. So we're following McLaren. Let's follow through. It's going to be a great illustration of the strength and weaknesses. BMW versus the Optimum McLaren in front. Look how much we gained under braking. McLaren with good traction mid-engine versus front engine. Here, the front engine should help the car get into the corners. What's Harper going to do? Is he aggressive? Is he going to try and overtake? He's got to set it up so he's able to hold the car further left now, into the right. He'll be able to get a better exit here. Can he get a run down this short straight into turn 5 for an overtake? He's going to show the car to the inside. There's a chance here. He's going to outbrake. He goes quite early, in my opinion, as a defensive. I don't want to overtake you. Clear with his body language of the car, and he's deciding, actually, I want to set an overtake up later in the lap, but it's the McLaren that's faster through the mid-speed corners of 5 and 6 down the hill. No overtake possible. We're too far back, and we're hard on the brakes. Balance of the car looking nice. We rode on board with Sean Glare earlier. His balance looks a lot snappier in the parodying car where we're there. Maybe we've done that differential change they were talking about. Why is that? To try and save the rear. The McLaren's so good through the mid-speed. The aero platform of that McLaren, great. You can see a track limit warning flashing up now on Dan Harper's driver display. That shows yellow flags, red flags, white flags, blue flags, everything race control need to, straight to the drivers there. And actually, as soon as I said the balance looked good, the rear of the car stepping out. Tyre pressure is much higher now, nearly 1.9 as an average. And we started up, I thought we were definitely getting past the optimum car. I think not. The optimum car doesn't seem to defend, but Harper at the moment not able to get down the inside of it. Much more curb for the BMW. Are we going to get a run into the last corner? We're not. Going to go for a late apex, and that gets us on the throttle earlier, and we're going to get another go into turn 1. This was the best overtaking spot, and actually the option McLaren rolling out the throttle, getting out the way very nicely for Dan Harper.
Yeah, it was a compromised lap. I mean, his previous lap was a 1 minute 55.8. The previous one before that was a 1 minute 55.5, which put him up into 5th place overall. That lap, 2 minutes and 1 second. New livery for the 111 McLaren there. That's a car that's been well placed in the Gold Championship. Simon Gachet, James Kell and Arthur Rougier second in that championship, but still that 25-point deficit to the Harry King, Chris Lullum, Thierry Vermeulen, Verstappen, Aston Martin. Sorry, I keep forgetting because Vermeulen also drives a different car, doesn't he? In the European Championship, when you combine the sprint and the endurance, drives a Ferrari in the sprints.
Yeah, exactly. James Kell here aboard the 111 CSA car. James Kell, managed by Phil Bennett for a British Touring Car racer, and James Kell, his father, actually races a McLaren GT3 as well. So it's a big family affair. And CSA, I think, have been phenomenally good with this new-to-them car. They've had some rotten luck this season with chassis damage. They lost a car at Spa 24 Hour with Josh Mason aboard it. They lost a car as well with Lopez out at Manicourt as well. So the team have lost 2 chassis this year through crash damage, and that's the last thing you want as a team. You want to use your resource in making the car go fast, not repairing or replacing them.
Look, they're still a new team overall, but newish team, but to go from one manufacturer for another, you've got to hope everything lines up when you make the change. But you can be sure if they're back again next year, they'll be stronger still. Certainly in terms of preparation, their cars look magnificent, I must say. Really getting a good livery on board their cars as a factor they have to include. No quick times coming in at the moment. The latest improvement was actually one of the dynamic GT cars, and it was Federico Al-Rifai, but that's down around 30th position overall. In the top 10, it's fairly static, but it's still that time of 1 minute 55.249 seconds, which is at the top of the chart, and it's still the 92 Porsche from Verbist Motorsport.
Yeah, and we were talking about track limits, weren't we? The 991 has got a 10-minute stop-and-go penalty for constant abuse of track limits. So, yeah, race control deciding enough is enough, and we need to draw a line in the sand.
Well, you identified one of them pinging up in the cockpit on that onboard lap with Dan Harper. You can be sure all of those weren't Dan's, but it's an accumulation, and as you get towards the end of the session, things can happen. Tom Sargent, we saw him going well early on. The Wright Motorsports Porsche down in 36th position overall. So effectively in our world, top of the second time screen. We all but fill the second time screen all the way down to 61st position. It's still the QMMF car at the bottom overall. 3.7 seconds down on the ultimate pace. But at the moment, that top second, the bracket we're considering, is at 23 cars. Remember, Augusto Farfus said there were 45 in the top within a second or thereabouts in testing. So well, we can expect them to close right up.
Yeah, exactly. And the right motorsport Porsche balance again, looking nice here. Good striking livery as well. I like cars as a commentator that are easy to spot, and we don't get many green cars now. It's almost a British racing green as well, isn't it? On that American, German branded Porsche. So yeah, it stands out really well. 36th, and used to competing in the US, and I mean GT World Challenge America is going from strength to strength. So we spoke about earlier, it's a global platform, and that's the great illustration of it. If you're competitive in one of the regions, be it America, Asia, or Australia, or Europe, you can just pick up your toy set and take it somewhere else in the world and go racing.
You can, and then, for example, you talk about it being an American team, it most certainly is, but Tom Sargent, a young Australian driver, so he took his racing over there after competing in Formula Ford, went to race, Australian Formula Ford champion, went to compete in the States racing Porsches, and has obviously caught someone's eye, and that's why he's on board this car racing in Europe. So it's all a good place to be.
So actually Ben Barnicoat's still in the 2Cs Mercedes behind, so they're obviously working through quite a long race run program, but both these cars in a good bit of space, and the Porsche there just struggling maybe slightly over the first bump in the brake zone into turn one. And here we see the 17 car fastest yesterday in the paid test. Lucas Stoltz aboard it. I was just trying to spot if there were new tyres going on that car, because that would be a good time to start a quali sim with 13 minutes remaining. You could have low fuel in it and run to the end. The 163 Lamborghini here all the way down in 46th position at the moment, and Luca Ensler in another Lamborghini saying Lamborghini not quite happy in the races right now, but we've seen that before, haven't we? A manufacturer down in the order in practice, and then suddenly they get everything in order for qualifying, and they're right at the sharp end. And it was a Lamborghini that won here last year, of course.
Yeah, and it was two of the drivers from this car. It was actually entered by Gazeau, their winning car last year, but for Mapelli and Pereira, Marco Mapelli, Frank Pereira, who were showing with Sandy Mitchell, the driver on board, they took victory here 12 months ago. They must be going, what has happened in 12 months? You've changed teams, still racing the same Lamborghini, but, well, we'll say, even if you're not going for the ultimate pace right here in this free practice session, you want to be rather close to the front. You want to be in the top 20, certainly within the top second. And at the moment, the 163 car, Sandy Mitchell on board, 1.5 seconds down on the ultimate pace in this free practice session.
Yeah, and already a second down in sector one, so hard to see this being an improvement this lap as well. And I'm using a lot of entry curve there, just trying to open the corner up. Again, balance looks okay, and that's sometimes the hardest bit as a driver when you go, where are we? You're 46th, Andy. You go, wow, car feels okay, I feel okay. Right, we need to go back and we need to look at the data, and we need to exactly understand where our weaknesses are. And as a team, you'll have the sister car data, but you'll be looking at the sectors at the speed traps and going, okay, maybe we've got too much wing on. The car feels too good, but we're down in the speed traps. Let's lose some of that rear wing. Let's pick up some straight line speed at a detriment of the car feeling well balanced, potentially, and well balanced it was not, because Sandy Mitchell made a Sandy entry there, dipping a right rear tyre on the way in, and a rare mistake from Sandy Mitchell there, and that would have certainly woken up the young Scotsman there with a simple error, and that could have been a whole lot worse if his car control wasn't on point.
Yeah, and of course, the Ferrari tucked in behind. I must be thinking, no, oh, okay, got it under control. So Mitchell, that wasted. Next one might be all right. Let's see. And it's not a great place to be if you're in a Lamborghini at the moment, because the number 63, the car that's featured so well, Jordan Pepper at the wheel, still only in 15th place overall. We heard from his teammate Luca Engster not feeling too enthusiastic. 0.6 of a second off the ultimate pace, but certainly at the moment, VSR, we just saw the VSR car with Sandy Mitchell, they'd give quite a lot to find a second and get up to where this one is.
Yeah, and actually the sister car I was talking about, the VSR, they've got a 10-minute stop-and-go penalty for track limits as well, so they're coming in thick and fast. This is a strong lap from Pepper. It's probably not going to be an improvement. No one improved their lap across the field last lap, but what's this going to be? 15th place at the moment, best lap 55.8 and 56.5 in the end. So the last sector lost a fair amount of time for Jordan Pepper there.
Tell you what, we just seen the action on the track. Let's hear from Matisse Lisont in the pits.
Matisse, well, this is a rather nice new setup. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's not bad, is it? Yeah. I'm looking forward to the weekend. It's a new team, bit of ups and downs this season, but I got this opportunity, so I'm really excited to get into this.
Now, I hear you are doing double duties this weekend. Talk us through that, and how tricky is it going to be?
Yeah, so we first confirmed the 24 hours of Zolder, and then this came up, so I couldn't really say no. So we've decided to plan everything out. After pre-qualifying, I'm going back to Zolder, do there all my night stints, get that over with, and then I'll be back here by qualifying. And then maybe in between qualifying and race, I'll have to go back to Zolder, but this depends on how we're going in the race.
Are you completely bonkers?
I'm still young, I can manage, it's fine.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I wish I was doing that as well. So, yeah, what's this car like then compared to the Corvette?
It's different for sure. Last year I drove the Aston, it's a bit more comparable to the Aston than it is to the Corvette. It's decent to drive, it's very consistent. You can go really long in like the same tent or couple tents, which is very nice. Of course, it's a bit front-end limited, but the team is managing quite well to get that out of the way and to be able to make the car quick enough.
As we come towards the sort of last half hour of free practice, what's important for you to find out during the rest of this session?
We'll have to find out a bit quali pace. Race pace were quite good, we believe. Now we're figuring out the quali pace, but I have no doubt that we'll get it all good up and running for quali.
No doubt, you're in very safe hands here. Thank you, Matisse.
So one of the changes, he started the season, as we heard, in the SRO Motorsports Chevrolet, but to go and compete in the Zolder 24 hours, I would actually say, no, just do this.
It's over 2 hours drive away. It's over 200 kilometres away. So it's not like it's on the doorstep. It's different countries. Well, it's into Belgium. But yeah, that is wild. But I like his youthful enthusiasm, is a polite way of saying I think that's a stupid idea.
Yes, indeed. I mean, you could, if it was Spa-Francorchamps, be a little closer, but Zolder certainly at the opposite end of Belgium. We're very close to the Belgian border here, but that's going to be quite a logistical effort. But Gilles Stadsbader, his teammate, kicking up the dirt on the exit of the corner there, but for Team WRT, another new driver into their ranks. But of course, young drivers just want to see what it's like stepping into a team, see what the setup's like. And if you're a Belgian in a Belgian racing team, as Matisse Lismore is this weekend, of course, he'd raced for Come To You Racing, another Belgian team with their Aston Martins in the past. But he's gone from Aston Martin last year to Chevrolet this year, and now to BMW.
Yeah, so again, the drone shot showing the rallycross nature of that final chicane at 14 and 15. How many cars have run wide across the grass, and someone that's been across the grass there, I'd suggest at the chicane, is one of the CSA cars there, staying out on track. So the 112 car, relatively happy that the car's okay. Sai Sanjay Downing 59th place, so he's the third car in shot here. Tries to go down the inside of the Audi. The door is closed, so he has to escape through the gravel. And again, is that going to be a theme of the race? The drivers trying to get their eyes in here where they can possibly overtake when needed in the 3-hour race tomorrow.
Last few minutes with the sun finally making a better effort coming through the clouds. Track temperature is starting to rise. That'll change things a bit. It's up to 18 degrees now. Started the day around 14, so still not a huge temperature. I think we're going to, well, green on the screen. That means we're going to get some quicker times coming through. Harry King, the driver who's making the moves, the Verstappen.com Aston Martin, the car that is leading the gold class handsomely. He's down in 33rd position. You can be fairly sure he's not going to be there at the end of this lap. Up to 18th position, so the quick times are starting to come in. Bear in mind, we thought it was Jules Gounon's car, or the number 9. Sorry, not number 9, it's the Get Speed Mercedes car number 17. We thought new rubber was going on that for this final flurry in this session.
Yeah.
Still got 22 minutes, mind.
Yeah, Harry King 55.9, so 7/10 off the fastest. And Harry King had a strong spar, didn't he? But actually struggled at the end with the heat. Remember, he couldn't get in for that final stint and didn't make the podium. He was so ill. So a Porsche specialist, and would have raced here in Carrera Cup Germany as well. So he'll know the circuit well. And King blasting round the Nürburgring Castle sounds right, doesn't it?
No, absolutely so. But bear in mind, you sort of forget as soon as you move on from a race meeting, but that Spa 24 Hours was one of the hot ones. It certainly was. I mean, it was hot enough just walking around out of a car. What it's like on board, it would have been hideous through the 24 hours. And pretty warm in the commentary box, Joe.
Yeah, it got hot and humid in there, didn't it? For all the right reasons, as Harry King potentially is going to trip over one of the Valkenhurst Aston Martins. At the moment, he'll be fine. No dirty air at that range. But as soon as you get within 1.2, 1.3 seconds, it will be a struggle. And that is where he is now, and Enrique Chavez 9th overall in that Valkenhurst BMW, but in the Aston Martin now for Valkenhurst, of course. The great illustration here, they've just done the opposite. So that Aston Martin in front, the green car, did its time early on in new tyres. Now Harry King is doing it. This shows you what a new tyre can do. And actually the Porsche, I think, getting out the way, well, the right motorsports car. But Harry King, now you can see compromise in Sector 2 with that Aston Martin.
Yeah, into the final corner, turn 17 onto the start-finish straight. Round he comes, right on the tail. Maybe it's going to have to be next time around. So he's actually potentially slightly up, but I don't know if this third and final sector will be an improvement. Yes, it is. Goes into 10th. So that was a very good lap, bearing in mind the traffic sitting in front of him. He's for 0.48 of a second off the ultimate pace. Haven't seen too much from Ferraris in this session at all. There's Vincent Abril, saw him walking into the circuit yesterday. He's down in 17th place overall. He's got enough clear track ahead of him to try and pick up the pace, but we have no idea if he's out on new rubber in this. Can't tell from this point, but for the AF Corse of Ferrari, it hasn't been a dream season at all. The driving standards, the driving crew is absolutely tip-top, but at the moment their success is largely coming in the World Endurance Championship, both at the top level and in GT3.
Yeah, and AF Corse have really attacked it, like you said, Bruce, this season with 2 proper factory cars and run by one of the top teams in the world. You can see Anton Abril there, one of the fastest GT drivers out there as well. Car balance again looking okay, maybe a bit too much understeer. You can see his white gloves illuminated. Someone's had too much oversteer. The 25 car, and that's the second time we've seen that car off, and is at the hot spot, the final chicane, and that's a hard rejoin there of cars coming in the pit lane. So he has a gap now to go, or he needs to wait for the ComTu Aston to get through this third car in shot. And we see the 32 BMW back on track as well, and that car did have a fuel problem, I'm hearing from WRT, so we saw them working in that area. I thought it could be, but yeah, Emil Adamant, team PR at WRT, confirming all fixed and good to go.
Very good to hear. And by the way, of course, there has been a fairly decent result for Abril, Pierre Guidi and SRO. They did finish on the podium, 3rd place overall the Spa 24 Hours, but in other races it just hasn't really come their way. And of course at Manicourt a couple of weekends ago, 3 weekends ago, we saw their car being taken out early in one of the 2 races there. But as we know, the drivers have form. Has the car got form at this point in the season? Anyhow, we're going to see. So, well, all on your own, son.
Well,
that was Benjamin Ricci. And then, of course, trying to reach on, it just took him about half a minute to find a space in the traffic.
I bet that bollard was shivering with fear as the Audi knee side-swiped in. For me, just kept too much steering lock on the exit, so the energy wants to go somewhere in a race car, and if you keep the lock on, it just suddenly gets to the slip point of the tyre and it spits you around. And we've seen a driver change here. This will be important in the races. We saw this car spin early. You can see the fuel going in as well. But at the moment, this is our fastest Ferrari in 7th place. So the car going very, very well. And Rinaldi Racing, very quick team. And be interesting to see where this car finishes up by the end of the 3 hours in the race.
Yes, sitting in 8th. So Rafael Duran doing a good job. We saw him have one little moment, but he's learning as he goes and sharing with David Perel and Fabrizio Cristani. But what we're getting now is a real flurry. You can see bright sunshine now in the pits. The cloud has started to burn off properly. Duran out of the car. His name's still on the screen as he straps one of his teammates on board. We'll see if it's Cristani or Perel when the car goes back out onto the circuit. But plenty of changes. Luca Stoltz, we look at him now, the Get Speed Mercedes, 12 on the screen, 17 on the door. This was a fresh set of rubber put on a short while ago. It's probably done a lap or so on it so far, out lap. Maybe this is his flying lap. If it is his flying lap, well, that's not too useful at all. A couple of cars right across his nose.
Yeah, one of the other Mercedes, Maxime Martin, is actually up to 3rd and did the fastest Sector 3 out of anyone and is on a green Sector 1 as well. So the Mercedes coming alive, the number 9 one. Anyway, keep an eye, is that a Mercedes sector then? Is it going to be strong in Sector 3 all weekend? It's a very short sector here, and they're not evenly split at all, the sectors. 55 seconds Sector 1, 43 for Sector 2, and then sub 20 seconds, 17 seconds for Maxime Martin. So not the biggest sector, but an important one because it is a good overtaking spot.
Clearly means he's very good through the gravel in the chicane, because that sector starts just before, just when you're even starting to think about maybe braking for the chicane as you on that uphill approach. Joe pointed out earlier on board lap that it's a late braking point because you're going into the incline, but right now Lucas Stoltz, so much experience, particularly at the Nürburgring, carrying plenty of speed, but he's getting very close to the Kessel Racing Ferrari in front of him. Konrad Larsen going very nicely indeed, but for Lucas Stoltz, if those were indeed new tyres, this will be a little bit frustrating. That isn't the ultimate goal for him, though. It's about just getting everything right. You know, he doesn't need to know which way the Nürburgring turns.
No, and this is Sector 3 starting now. So this is where the Mercedes is strong. Let's see if he gains massively on the Ferrari and Audi in front now. That white line is the start of Sector 3. So it's flung through the chicane. Lots of curb on the left, lots of curb on the right, and actually comes into the pit lane. So we're never going to know. But this is still a race, and he will be trying to just get to the pit entry line as quick as possible. And let's see how late he breaks in that gap. Constantine is up to the Ferrari, and maybe slow down ever so slightly before that 50-kilometre-hour board. And again, the teams will be monitoring the drivers in-lap and out-laps to make sure they're on the money, because a 10th lost on the way into the pits is the same lost in your stint.
Right, this is a free practice session. It's 2 hours on a Saturday morning to get your eye in. We've got a 1 hour practice session, pre-qualifying later this afternoon. Qualifying per se starts tomorrow morning, but still teams don't want to pick up penalties, and one car's under investigation, number 27, not just for track limits, but potential speeding in the pit lane. These things can really start to add up and come and haunt you. Second of the Kessel Racing cars for us to get to look at is car number 8, David Fuminelli, at the moment at the wheel of that, sharing with Nicola Rossi and Nicolo Sciero. 34th position overall. That's running in the bronze class, of course. Kessel Racing leading the bronze class, and handsomely so, with the 74, the Dustin Black, the Konrad Larsen, Dennis Marshall car. But at the moment, David Fuminelli, he wins the prize for the car decorated with marker pens, I think we can say. Certainly you like a car that has a livery we can pick out. If we can't pick this one out, we're not doing very well.
No, exactly. And we saw at Spa 24 Hours, actually, they all had their nicknames on it as well. So they've gone Larry with it. And yeah, David Fuminelli raced against him for quite a few years, actually, when we were in another series. And he's almost too nice to be a racing driver, bright guy as well. And he really helps Kessel in and out of the car as well. So down in 34th position at the moment. They won't be overly happy with that, of course, but they'll just be looking at their race pace and where they can get as a collective, and they'll be obviously focusing majoritively on their effort, just where they are in that bronze class. And that's where, again, Fuminelli's very good as a driver coach. So you get lots of fast drivers that just drive and they don't know how they do it. You get fast drivers that know how they do it and then can articulate it to a bronze graded amateur driver. And if you can find time in your bronze graded driver, you keep your job for longer, and it's a positive thing to have as a skill set.
No, absolutely so. The ability to I've always been aware over the years, first as a journalist, then moving into commentary, some drivers just seem to have an encyclopedic knowledge of every time they ever got in a racing car. Others sort of go, did I do that race? Yes, you did do that race, you know, but so on and so forth. But clearly the ability, particularly in GT racing, to pass that information on when you're running in a bronze car. You can be fairly sure that Dennis Marshall in the sister car is passing his knowledge on very, very nicely indeed for Dustin Blackner, who is the bronze entry, leading the bronze class. But it is teamwork, and that's something that doesn't always come to racing drivers. You all start off as individuals, but when you come to GT racing, to sports car racing, you have to learn to do differently.
Yeah, and even more so if you're being employed by that bronze driver. It is the tightest of tight ropes you have to walk as a pro driver. The guy who is paying you to be in the car is doing a terrible job, but you've got to rephrase it where he's doing well, but could we please try this, rather than saying it maybe in a more blunt, direct fashion. And maybe that's why I'm sat in the commentary box and not in a race seat. So these drivers have to pick their battles on where to find their bronze drivers the time, shall we say.
There we go, nicely encapsulated. Right, target time, 1 minute 55.2. Track conditions improving all the time, but this time was set very early on by Tim Heinemann. It's a Porsche at the top. We're looking at the moment at Lion Speed car, and that's Gabriel Rindon. He's sharing that with Patrick Kolb and Ricardo Feller, and those are two drivers who really know the Nürburgring very well, particularly Patrick Kolb, who seems to race here pretty much every second weekend. So expect them to go forward. At the moment, they're in the top half of the grid. We've got 61 cars, not all on the circuit at the moment, but I think we've got probably about 55, so track space is something they're looking for. But in 28th position, they're at the moment in the top half of the field.
Yeah, and Feller is one of those drivers as well in this car that just ignites when he gets in a car. It doesn't matter what sort of GT car it is, he hustles it well. And that's CSA McLaren behind us is hustling on well. So Redone will start to look in his mirror again, that purple flashing light. illustrating that is a bronze driver in the car, and Simon Gazeau behind flashing his headlights to try and get the bronze driver of Rodone out the way. But the bronze drivers are well protected. The race director literally says it's the pro driver to get round, and they will expect them to stick on their line, and Gazeau has to make the lunge, and Rodone closes the door saying, no thank you, I'm on my piece of tarmac and I want to continue on my way as fast as I can.
Yeah, just looking to see if that was a quick or a slow lap from Rendon. He did a 1 minute 56.3, or that car has done. He just did a 2 minute flat, followed by a 2 minute flat. So he hasn't lifted or lowered his pace, but where we see going down into towards the first corner, eventually the car behind tucks out from the slipstream and dives down the inside. Cars still coming out of the pits. One of the Vulcan Horse Motorsport Aston Martins doing so. And the number 25 Santalot Racing Audi, white, blue, with the red flashes. This is a car we've seen have its problems. Benjamin Ritchie got stuck on the grass on the exit of the chicane a handful of minutes ago. He's still going, but they're a very clear example of that purple flashing light saying, don't bite me, I'm a bronze driver.
Exactly. And it's important as a pro, you know who's in the car. You have quite a good understanding just watching the body language of the car, and then obviously the closing gap, which illustrates the pace of said car. But it just means there's no excuse for the pro drivers to be roughing up the amateur driver out there, who's got every right, if not more right, to be out there. And the bronze-graded drivers have really been the staple diet of GT3 racing, and they've supported it all the way from its inception.
In many ways, they made it. It was a championship that was created and very much with a Pro-Am concept, and it's grown and it's grown. It's now global. It's now the support class for the World Endurance Championship. Couldn't look for greater affirmation. And the proof of the pudding, how many cars have we got here? 61. How many did we have last year? 50-something. So we're moving forward all the time. Spa 24 hours, the jewel in the crown, oversubscribed every single year. Global field.
Yeah, you would say it's worked, wouldn't you, as a concept? And it was quite a new concept. Balanced performance was something that had never been mentioned before, but to have all these manufacturers out there so close, and the Porsche now on the back, and that's Mathieu Detry, who's had a busy season, hasn't he? The Belgian driver based in the UAE, now stepping up to GT3 after starting the season in a Porsche, but a GT4 variant of.
Yeah, and he's running as just one of two drivers in that car, so he'll be super busy. So let's go back down to the pits as cars go in, and let's hear the thoughts of Cesar Gazeau.
Cesar, you have incredible history here, good track record at the Nürburgring, but how tricky is it to put a good qualifying lap together and do well in a 3-hour, essentially sprint endurance?
Yeah, especially in endurance, it's really, really tough. I mean, last year it went very smooth. We made the pole and we won the race. But yeah, this year with 61 car, it's going to be really a mess in qualifying. So yeah, the most important it's to start in front here. So we're going to work a lot on the qualifying and then try to do our best for the race. But yeah, for sure the goal is the same as last year. So yeah, let's see what we can do.
What did you learn during that stint? The weather seems to be changing a lot. I imagine the track's changing a lot.
Yeah, we need to adapt a lot for sure. We're still missing a bit for the moment, but we are working quite hard. We try a lot of things, so we're going to have a lot of data for the pre-qualif already. And yeah, I think we are in a good spot for the moment. Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
Yeah, so just a year ago, Cesar won the silver class here for Boutsen VDS and Mercedes, still driving a Boutsen VDS Mercedes, and he was partnered by Aurélien Panis and Rui Meuha. But the point you made earlier, Joe, that Boutsen VDS really seemed to be just getting a stronger and stronger grip on their Mercedes.
Yeah, 24th overall, but 5th in the silver class. So we always try and flick between overall and class position. You can see on the timing tower on your screen on the left there, the different colour boxes where the car numbers are. So gold, pro, silver, and then bronze are the 4 representatives. We have all 4 classes within the top 6 as well, which is an interesting stat there, because the silver driver's so quick they're able to get there, and all the other classes can have at least 1 pro gold-rated driver in the car.
Whoop. There's a desperation to try and get past, running wide off the circuit there, trying to cut back in the number 10 Boutsen VDS Mercedes there, and that was the car we heard from Cesar Gazeau. But tell you what, we've talked to one Boutsen VDS driver. Moving across the garage, let's see the thoughts of Maxime Martin.
Good morning, Maxime. Firstly, you're looking rather bronzed. Have you managed to have a bit of a summer break before Nürburgring?
Yeah. It was nice to have a little break, 3 weeks off, with no phone, nothing. So that was really nice. A different life, but it's really good to recover a bit from the hard season. We race a lot, and good to be back now.
Good. Right, it's not been the easiest of seasons for you. You have a plethora of experience around Nürburgring. To what extent does that help you when you're essentially battling with a very roller coaster season in the car?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Nürburgring is a racetrack where we come quite often, also with the Nordschleife, and so we know quite well. I've been here a lot of times, so for sure it helps the experience. For me, it's a new time with this car because it's first time with the car, and but it's quite good. We progress. At the moment the session is okay, but you never know who's doing what, so we have to see tomorrow.
All right, good. What did you learn during that session?
Yeah, I mean, it's different conditions. It's quite the track seems quite quicker than on Thursday, so it's different. But we are in August, it's 10 degrees, so we are in Nürburgring, I can see. And tomorrow it might be completely different. So
you'll be slowing tomorrow.
Exactly. Here we are, Nürburgring.
Thanks, Maxime.
See that little rivalry, drivers from Belgium dissing Nürburgring and vice versa for their weather patterns, but we all know both circuits, Spa-Francorchamps and Nürburgring being a little more altitude can certainly cop some weather that you may not be getting about 50 kilometres away, even 20 kilometres away, frankly.
It's effectively the same forest region as well, though, isn't it? Different names for the different countries, but the Eifel here versus the Ardennes there, but yeah, same but different in my opinion. As we look aboard the 52 car, that is in 51st position, and it's looked fast at times. I've seen this car overtaking other cars, so it's surprising to see it down there, but maybe they've saved a set of tyres and they've just been running on some used all session. But Mikhail here into the final chicane, getting hustled hard by the WRT, the silver car behind him, and he'll be looking in his mirrors, making sure there isn't a lunge coming from that number 30 car.
Still having to adjust my thoughts. I automatically say Michiels, Bertolini, no longer, because Andrea now stepped down. Tommaso Mosca, young Italian racer, has filled the seat for now in the red and green Ferrari. Right, looking at Lamborghinis, it's not their dream circuit at the moment, is it? At the moment, car number 19, another car from Gazeau Racing Team. This is the one shared by Dante Rapanga, Ivan Ekelchik and Baptiste Moulin, and that is down towards the tail of the feed. It's actually just starting to make, well, it's trying to make some progress, but actually getting close in on the car in 61st position. So that's in penultimate place in this field. But look at this high shot. You know, suddenly starting to see a fully sunny day at the Nürburgring. It's taken a long time. Here we are, you know, just gone 11 o'clock in the morning, 10 past 11, and it's only now really fully sunny. We had a little flurry of rain, didn't we? More of a sprinkle, frankly, but still the track conditions, gravel.
Hanging down underneath that guy.
Yeah.
Just saw underneath something right in the middle of the car. And I can only imagine that's part of the flooring has been dislodged. But when we got that shot of it diving down the hill, the floor on these Lamborghinis is 3 separate parts. And imagine where one of them joins, where we've smashed a curb, something has been dislodged, or even is that something stuck underneath? I can't believe it's that, because it would have flown through, but that could be some reason why the car is all the way down in 60th position. This was the shot I saw live. You can get a great shot of as it comes over this curb. There's a shadow there, and again, that's drag, and that's hurting the aero.
Yeah, it looks as though it's just down below the engine. From the front shot, I thought it was nearer to the front of the car, but yeah, that won't be helping. You were getting quite twitchy at the thought of a bonnet being slightly loose at the front of the Aston Martin, but we've got a McLaren nose to the tyre wall, and it's the 112 for CSA Racing.
T6 again, where we saw the Audi in the wall, and I've never seen a car go off there. I've seen 2 for the price of 1. I was about to say we've got through this whole 2 hours without a red flag, and I think Sai Sanjay read my mind and was about to do a commentator's curse. That's going to be a harder one to get out. You can see the damage on the corner. That's gone in much harder than the Audi that had the innocent snap. And you're going to see it here, exactly the same. Look at the set of 11s being left out. The slide you have to catch, but then your trajectory's out on the brakes, but the speed the car too high. This super slow-mo as we go to full course yellow is going to show this car slap the wall and then rotate 90 degrees round, and this will be the last thing CSA want to see. Wing mirror going flying. What a great shot. The energy being dissipated well by the tyre stack and the rather expensive carbon fibre bodywork, but full course yellow, all cars to 80Ks, and that is going to be the end of the session for any meaningful lap times with less than 2 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, so for the Indian racer, frustration for the crew, a bunch of work they didn't hope to be doing, but they've got to get it ready because we've got a pre-qualifying session at 2:30 this afternoon. But it has been a very clean session. Quite a few drivers getting pinged for various penalties, but track limits in particular, maybe a bit of speeding in the pit lane. But right now, full course yellow, and we only have what left on the clock, 1.5 minutes.
This has actually come at a perfect time for every team apart from CSA, although the other car will be benefiting, and the race control, that everyone gets a chance to practice the full course yellow. We actually see some artificial practices, don't we, to make sure everyone's happy with their 80 kilometres an hour, and the procedure, that is a very set procedure, may I add, is all being followed. So there is a silver lining to this end of full course yellow for the session.
Well, that was the voice of the ultimate optimist, Joe Osborne, alongside me. He's quite right, though. Tim Heinemann there on the screen. He set the fastest time very early on. He's bringing the number 92 Verbist Motorsport car back into the pits. His margin was 48 thousandths of a second over the treble 7 Almanar Racing BMW, and 3 manufacturers in the top 3 positions, because Maxi Götz got a Mercedes up to the sharp end of the field. Number 9. Car from Boots and VDS. Then the 2 Fords set their times very early on, 65 and 64. So plenty of manufacturer variety, and the second of the BMWs was parodying competition, 991, and that was Dan Harper. But he did get a penalty for something, didn't he? Can't remember what.
Track limits, wasn't it?
Yes.
And yeah, Heinemann boxes. So Heinemann, the man showing everyone his Heine, has done a very good job this session. Sai Sanjay begrudgingly getting out the car. He might have wanted to stay in that car after it got recovered, just to drive it back to pit lane to give it a bit of a once-over before the final session of the day. Pre-qualifying, like you said, Bruce, important because it is the last chance as he looks upon the car. And lovely helmet design there, incorporating obviously the flag colours of India. And yeah, that is the last thing you want as a driver, to finish this session there of a simple mistake, but ultimately a costly one.
Entirely so, but actually bearing in mind we had 61 cars on the track almost throughout that session, 61 cars, this record field. There's Dustin Blattner just taking this moment to practice a driver change. Yes, this session is counting down, checkered flag. We've reached the end of 2 hours, but why not? And sorry, I beg your pardon, it's car number 12. So that's actually the American flag. I thought it was Dustin Blattner, blue and white Ferrari, but it's Rinaldi Racing, and that would be Raphael Duran, one of the debutants this weekend. We got 3 making their GT World Challenge debut, and no wonder the driver who normally competes in the Ferrari Challenge just wants to get the experience, Joe, because even experienced drivers have to keep practicing pit stops. But one little fumble, you undo all the good work. But for Raphael Duran, why not give it a go? Yeah,
exactly. You've got 5 belts to do up, a window net, radio, water, and you can see how busy the pit lane is with the Almanar car coming in tight there. The car controller for Rinaldi doing well, getting out of the way. But yeah, a huge amount of procedure for team and driver in the pits.
But also, no pit lane is like any other pit lane. They all have the vagaries. You have to gauge the width, your line of sight when you're looking in your door mirror, when you're about to open the door, etc., etc. Roman Andriolo coming in at the end. His car ranked 4th fastest, top in the silver category, and certainly the Hout Racing team, 2 of their cars in the top 5 positions, and Ford have not had a good run with their Mustangs, but they'll take encouragement from that.
Yep, as we get a really nice illustration of this full course yellow, so you can see the speed on the dash for Dan Loake. And interestingly, the apex speed of turn 1 is lower than 80, so there's actually some time to be gained at turn 1 by doing a good racing line and carrying as much speed as possible. Driver display there showing the checkered flag.
And here is the time chart at the end. 2 hours of the free practice, and it ran really very cleanly indeed. But Tim Heinemann set the fastest time, showing with Rolf Eichen and Joel Sturm, the Verbist Motorsport Porsche, top of the charts by 48 thousandths of a second from another gold entry, the Almanar Racing BMW of Klingman Tuck and Al Zubair. And working down through the orders of top pro cars is Grenier Götz and Martin, time right at the end in their Mercedes for Boots and VDS to be top pro. Top in Silver Cup, it was Finn Wiebelhaus, Roman Andriolo and David Schumacher. And top in the bronze class, it was Dan Harper who set the time, Sean Galale and Darren Lung who brought it home, the Paradigm BMW. But overall, it was the Porsche at the top of the charts. The 10 manufacturers absolutely shuffled through the order, and 3 new faces this weekend. They'll have enjoyed that session. Just more track time. Some it's just new to the championship, but here we are on a glorious morning now at the Nürburgring. We've got plenty more coming, and at 2:30 this afternoon we'll go out for qualifying. But let's just take a look at the session. It's come to a very good conclusion right at the end, but it was Porsche at the top of the charts. Verbist Motorsport, and do make sure that you come and join us when we go out for pre-qualifying this afternoon at 2:30.